What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
4 Shish. Chapter 88 Your posture is gone. Advertisement. Everyone looked at Luffy in bewilderment. Only Vivi turned her head in horror, and covered Ikaram's eyes by the way. I saw a red light flashing in Luffy's eyes. In the name of Monkey D. Luffy, surrender to me. Yes, your highness. Hundreds of bounty hunters knelt on one knee in unison, half kneeling on the ground with their hands on their shoulders. Mr. Five looked at the group of people with a frown and scolded in a low voice, do you want to rebel? However, these bounty hunters were not timid at all. Instead, they stared at Mr. Five with red eyes and raised their weapons. What kind of power is this? Ikaram looked at Luffy in shock, and originally planned to subdue this group of people, but Luffy made them not even afraid of the cadres with just one word. Only Vivi breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that Luffy didn't intend to shoot himself. Miss Valentine looked at Luffy solemnly. It feels like this guy's skills are a hint of Golden Week. Miss Golden Week can affect the mood of the enemy by painting on the human body. And Luffy's hypnosis is obviously more terrifying, and it makes this group of timid guys who are afraid of death don't care about their own lives at all. You must know that the 880s in the past would be terrified to death even if they met an unlucky duo, let alone Mr. Five and Valentine as cadres. Hey, what kind of skill do you have? Isn't this too much? Zoro looked at the many bounty hunters who turned enemies into friends in an instant, speechless. Are you going to fight those two? If you don't fight, I will. Luffy nodded to Mr. Five who had just arrived and said to Valentine. That's for sure, how could it be possible to let the captain do it himself all the time, at least let our crew perform something useful. After Zoro finished speaking, he slowly stood up and looked at the two of MR5. Hey, don't underestimate us. Mr. Five looked at Zoro who came forward alone and growled loudly. Luffy waved his hand, and hundreds of bounty hunters retreated behind Vivi in unison, the neat movements seemed to have gone through countless rehearsals. Okay. So scary. Ikaram looked at Luffy in shock, the bounty hunters who were originally scattered and fighting on their own turned into an army with just one sentence. Luffy Commodore, what exactly is your purpose? Advertisement. Vivi asked Luffy aloud, she still felt bitter about telling Lok about her identity. All said and done, help save the villagers of Alabasta from fire and water. Luffy spread his hands, besides, your identity as a princess has already been exposed, I think they can come so quickly is not only the reason why Mr. Nine met on the road. Mr. Nine nodded. Indeed, the two people I met on the way, their mission was to get rid of you. Vivi was startled and said, why? Mr. Five roared angrily, there is a limit to looking down on people. Valentine also said loudly, our level is different from theirs. Ah, we are demon fruit power. As he said that, M5 picked a piece of booger out of his nose and flicked it towards Zoro. The bewildered Zoro subconsciously turned the word he Dao on vertically, and the booger was instantly cut into two halves by the sharp word he Dao. Bang! Explosions came from both sides of Zoro. M5 looked at Zoro proudly. How is it? I am an explosive man who ate the fruit of the explosion. Any part of my body can explode. However, he found that Zoro was staring at Hidao with his mouth wide open. Damn it. I cut my booger. Zoro roared and yelled at MR5. B************** D. Can you stop using such a disgusting move? Mr. Five was furious. How dare you say that my moves are disgusting? I'll let you pick them up. I saw M5 crazily taking out booger from its nose and flicking towards Zoro. Ah, the booger is flying. Zoro yelled and ran around to hide. Ah. Valentine floated lightly over Luffy. How is it? Do you know how powerful we are? We are not comparable to this kind of people in remote areas. Although the extra marines are not what we expected, but with our strength, we can easily deal with them. Valentine laughed and sat down from the sky towards Luffy. After eating the light lion fruit, she can easily change her own weight, first by reducing the weight to make herself fly, and then fall hard like a jackhammer. At this time, she can weigh up to 10,000 kilograms. Luffy slowly looked up at the sky. I saw Valentine throwing himself towards him at a high speed. With a bang, Valentine and Luffy directly smashed into the house, and it shattered with a bang, and the whole house instantly collapsed into ruins. Mr. Five sneered. Let you meddle in your own business, I'm afraid your companion has already been smashed to pieces. Advertisement. Zoro frantically yelled at Mr. Five. You be D. Where did you get so much booger? Are you angry? Vivi looked at the collapsed ruins and shouted worriedly, Lord Luffy. Satisfied, he floated to the sky again and returned to MR5. Ah, let him look down on us. Vivi hurriedly ran towards the ruins, anxiously looking for Luffy. Mr. Luffy, are you okay? Finally, Vivi found Luffy lying in a daze in the middle of the ruins. Luffy, what's wrong with you? Don't scare me. Vivi looked nervously at Luffy in the ruins. How can the person who was hit by my 10,000 kilograms weight still survive? Ah, Valentine laughed triumphantly. But Vivi saw that Luffy didn't look hurt at all. Luffy. What's wrong with you? Are you still conscious? White. Luffy's voice came from the ruins. Vivi. Huh. Valentine looked in the direction of the ruins in astonishment. How could he be alive? Zoro gave Valentine a blank look. That guy is a rubber man who ate rubber fruit. Even if you weigh 100 quilts, don't even think about hurting him. Why is this? Then what is he doing lying there? Valentine looked at Luffy puzzled. At this time, Vivi asked Luffy wonderingly, what white one? White bear pattern. Luffy grumbled again. Valentine. Ah, a scream. Valentine blushed and covered her dress. Vivi. Plus Lu. Bang. Vivi raised her fist angrily and growled. Don't be scary. Chapter 89 Diffusion Structural Phase Transfer Cannon. Advertisement. Master Vivi, why don't we run first? Why do I feel that these people are so unreliable? Ikaram looked at Luffy, who was shaking wildly with Vivi, and said with difficulty. You can't go. Then Nami's voice came. Ikaram turned his head and saw Nami and Circus C, walking leisurely, from the side. Aren't you asleep? Vivi asked Nami strangely. Nami looked at Vivi proudly. How can I get drunk without knowing why in the lair of the secret criminal group Lock Work Agency? I have searched your lair all over, you are really poor can. Everyone. Vivi said helplessly. This is something that can't be helped, we will regularly send Bailey to the boss behind the scenes. So that behind the scenes boss is really rich. Bailey's light flashed in Nami's eyes. Vivi has black lines on his face, is this the focus of your attention? This is Luffy also walking to Nami's side. Of course there's money. The Bar Lock Agency is a secretive criminal syndicate that combines espionage, assassination, theft and bounties. No one knows the name and appearance of the boss, and everything is done according to the boss's instructions, with the purpose of holding important positions after the establishment of an ideal country in the future. Luffy explained to Nami with a smile. Vivi looked at Luffy in shock. Why do you know so clearly? I barely came into contact with this after being undercover for a long time. Luffy touched his chin, and suddenly gave Vivi an evil smile, because I am Zero. Mr. O. Vivi was shocked when he heard the words, impossible. Ming Mink Lock Doll. Boom. There was a muffled sound of hitting rubber. Nami rolled his eyes at Luffy whose head was dangling. Don't scare people. Luffy returned to the original state in an instant. I'm right, another purpose of this visit is naturally to bring the Bar Lock Work Agency under its name. Speaking of which, Luffy took out Zero's exclusive mask and put it on his head. This mask is God's guidance to me. Nami looked at Luffy suspiciously. This is a criminal group, what are you doing as their leader? Luffy is rare to be serious. Although we are marine, there is also hidden darkness in the world government. If you want to gain real freedom, you must have strong strength. There are many fetters in a person's life, and it is impossible for me to protect all of you by myself, so I want to establish a terrorist force that integrates fame, wealth, strength, and power, and become the maker of order. Quote. What Luffy said shocked Nami, Vivi and others, no matter how it sounds like they are following the route of the Revolutionary Army. Advertisement. You want a revolution? Vivi exclaimed at Luffy in surprise. The sound of Dalian M5 and Valentine both looked sideways at it. Who knows that Luffy shook his head, revolution. That's what my cheap daddy did. What I have to do is to integrate resources. You don't understand the life of a rich second generation. I just need to make full use of my existing advantages and win over the current ones. If you have resources and connections, do you want the emperor to let the princes know? Cough. I probably don't know. All I need to do is to stand up and accept the stalls paved for me by cheap daddy, Uncle Kizaru, big cousin Aokiji, big redhead, and old Garp when necessary. Tisk tisk, what we need to do now is to collect chips that can talk to them on an equal footing before that day comes. Vivi was shocked when he heard that. Nami looked at Vivi strangely. Do you understand? Vivi shook her head. No, it just feels awesome. Nami. NYH. You don't need to understand, you just need to know that as long as we control the Bar Lock Work Agency, we can make it right and get a lot of Baileys. Luffy smiled and said to Nami. Sure enough, upon hearing about Bailey, Nami immediately expressed support with both hands. She yelled at Zoro. Zoro. Don't kill me, this will be our money-making tool from now on. Zoro, who was avoiding the boogers, turned his head and growled in a frenzy, I want you to manage. Ah ha ha. Valentine covered her mouth and smiled. If people know that Commodore, a dignified marine supernova, is aiming to overthrow the world government, I'm afraid you will end badly, right? Mr. Five also shouted in a hurry. Our mission is to kill the princess that Alabasta once had. Luffy watched speechlessly and Zoro snarled. You are enough. How long do you want to use this little guy? Zoro frantically turned around and yelled. Damn it, who knew his fights are so disgusting, why don't you come? I come and I come. A red light suddenly lit up on Luffy's mask. Come out, Mirage. Nani, Mr. Five, Valentine, Vivi, and Ikaram suddenly widened their bell-like eyes, staring in astonishment at this terrifying machine that suddenly appeared that did not belong to this world. Asking for flowers. Mecha, Valentine exclaimed loudly. The cockpit opens, and Luffy jumps into it. I haven't used it well after it's fully charged, so I just want to use you as an experiment. Mr. Five and Valentine stared at the war machine in horror and swallowed. Advertisement. I'm not afraid of you. Mr. Five pretended to be calm and shouted loudly, my whole body can explode and explode people. Sitting in the cab, Luffy felt a bit of a headache looking at the densely packed operation buttons. When watching anime in his previous life, he only felt that the Mirage model was very cool to operate. But watching Lelouch operate a machine like Mirage all the way with the keyboard, which is completely different from the nerve-assisted joysticks used by Kuchiki Vermilion Bird and Gurren. Let me take a look, it looks a bit complicated, is it this thing? Well, not quite like that. It seems not. Everyone looked at Mirage doing all sorts of strange movements in midair in bewilderment, but had no intention of attacking at all. Mr. 5 feels insulted. Too much bullshit. Nose bomb. He suddenly rubbed a big booger from his body and smashed it at the mecha. There was a bang, and the Mirage was submerged by the explosion. Mr. Luffy. Vivi covered her mouth and exclaimed. The idiot, Zoro said, covering his face with his hands. M5 sneered triumphantly. You dare to underestimate me. Ah, I found it. Then Luffy's voice came from the explosion. How can it be? Mr. 5 looked in shock at the hexagonal energy light shield that appeared in front of Mirage. Absolute protection system, an effective light shield that can only be formed through complex calculations, an absolute defense that only monsters with super high IQs like Lelouch can perfectly use. Luffy, who loaded the Lelouch template, found and learned the system in just a few tens of seconds. The explosion produced by Devil Fruit didn't even produce a single sway. And the next moment, the light shield disappeared, and a huge prism muzzle appeared on the chest of Mirage. A laser beam was emitted, and the purple diffuse structure phase transfer cannon exploded in midair in the astonished eyes of everyone. Countless laser cannons blasted in all directions, and the entire Whiskey Town was reduced to ruins in an instant. Everyone. Luffy. Oh, I'm sorry, I used the wrong weapon. Guang. Chapter 98 Terrifying power comparable to the Pluton battleship. Advertisement. Idiot, are you trying to blow us up? Zoro stood in the ruins with 2 knives in his hands and his face was pitch black, roaring loudly at the mech. When Mirage mechs usually use the phase transfer cannon of the diffuse structure, they first launch the prism, and then shoot a beam of powerful beams at the prism. The prism changes its internal structure through computer calculation, and refracts it into dozens of devastating and precise attacks. But it is obvious that Luffy is not yet able to accurately calculate the landing points of each laser cannon, which also caused the laser cannons to fly in all directions, and the most unlucky Zoro exploded directly in front of him. Luffy coughed twice in embarrassment. Accident, it's a pure accident. This time I will make a good calculation and try to focus all of Guangdong on them. Stop. Wait a moment. Suoji Renlong and Mr. 5 opened their mouths in unison. These 2 little bastards don't bother you. I'll do it. Even if he shits and throws it out this time, I'll kill him. Zoro snarled to hold back Luffy's urge to strike again. Different from Kizaru's 8-foot Chonguyu, the laser cannon of this thing is more terrifying than the piercing because of the power of the explosion, which really makes Luffy do it again, in case it blows up his proper fart. Luffy retracted the cannon on the shoulder of the mecha regretfully. Don't believe me, this time I used a spherical hadron cannon, not a diffuse one. Stop you. Zoro and Nami roared at Luffy together. Everyone then turned to look at the 2 of MR5. Did you talk just now? Unexpectedly, the 2 of them knelt on the ground in unison. We were wrong. We surrender. Everyone. I still want to try new weapons again. Luffy jumped down from the Mirage mecha, looked at the 2 people who were still in shock and said. The 2 of Mr. 5 were frightened and trembled again. It's so G cruel. Just one blow turned the entire Whiskey Town into ruins. Ghosts want to fight with such a strange thing. The power of this thing is almost the same as the legendary Pluton battleship that wiped out an island in one blow. How could it be possible for a young guy like me who was in the first half of the Grand Line to fight it? Without the slightest hesitation, the 2 decisively raised their hands and surrendered. Boring. Luffy shook his head. You 2 look at me. The 2 raised their heads without hesitation. Compared to being blown to pieces, being hit by hypnosis seems to be no big deal. I saw Luffy open his mouth and said to the 2, in the name of Monkey D. Luffy, when I make this gesture, you will regard me as MR0. After speaking, Luffy stretched out his middle finger and made a contemptuous gesture. Advertisement. Yes, Your Highness. The 2 responded mechanically in unison. Then Luffy lifted the Geass, and the 2 of them woke up instantly, but they didn't have the slightest memory of what happened just now. You 2 go. Luffy smiled and waved his hand. Mr. 5 and Valentine looked at Luffy in bewilderment. You don't control us and become your men? Mr. 5 asked Luffy with a look of astonishment. No, I pay attention to convincing people with virtue, relying on external force is not my style. Luffy waved his hand generously. Watching Zoro, Nami and others go up and give him a slap. Where's the face? Mr. 5 and Valentine ran towards the outside of the island in a daze. They didn't want to stay here for a moment. Why did you let them go? Nami looked at Luffy strangely and asked, aren't you going to control the Baroque work agency? Look for big fish with a long line. Didn't I say it? No one knows who the so-called MR0 is, and if I appear in high-level gatherings as MR0, hee. The corner of Nami's mouth twitched when he heard this insidious guy. By the way, do you really know who the boss behind the Baroque work agency is? Vivi said solemnly at the side, although you are already a Commodore, but that is Locke the Sand Crocodile, one of the 7 warlords of the sea. Nami froze in place when she heard the words, Nani? 7 warlords of the sea. Nami covered his face with tears in his eyes and said sadly, how could this be? Just entering the Grand Line and being chased by Shichibukai or something, it's too much woohoo. Zoro leaned against a broken wall with a curious face on his face. It's really lucky to meet Shichibukai so soon, what kind of person would he be? I heard that someone changed from a woman to a man. Luffy laughed and teased. Nami. Plus Ru, shut up. Although we haven't been together for long, Thanks to your care, I ran away before he knew what I looked like. Nami angrily walked towards the Mary. And suddenly a vulture and K's pointed at Nami with some paintings in his hand. Advertisement. Nami took a closer look, and it was Luffy, Zoro and his own portrait. The painting really looks like it, it's amazing. Nami clapped his hands to K's in surprise. In the next second, K's rides on a vulture and disappears from Nami's sight. Nami. Oi Ko. It means that I can't even run now, hey. Looking at Nami who was furious, Zoro asked wonderingly, where is he going to go after all? All in all, we have also entered the killing list of the Baroque Work Agency. At this time, Vivi ran to Nami, who was already exhausted and crouched in the corner, and comforted him. If you want to talk about Pele, I still have 500,000 Pele on my side. If it's enough. Don't worry. Ikaram's voice came from the side, I have a plan. Everyone looked back and saw that Ikaram was wearing Vivi's plus-size clothing on the boat at this time, and was holding 3 straw figures in his hands. Ikaram, do you still have this hobby? Vivi looked at Ikaram in women's clothing with a dazed expression. Ikaram, I mean I'll pretend to be you, and be the bait to go out to sea first. Luffy looked at Ikaram's outfit and rubbed the center of his brows. Do you really think everyone is mentally retarded? Let alone Robin, even Buggy probably wouldn't be fooled by such a low-level trap. I can't take it anymore, you idiots. Nami complained in despair. You may not understand the horror of Baroque Studio. If we are targeted by the boss's intelligence network, there will be a steady stream of members chasing us, you know that, right? Master Vivi. Ikaram nodded solemnly. It seems that there are at least 1,000 pursuers. Nami burst into tears behind him. 0.7. So I want to pretend to be a princess like this, and stay with 3 more dummy to take a boat and return directly to Alabasta. When the attention of the pursuers is attracted by me, Master Vivi and everyone will sail to Alabasta from the row. Ikaram. Vivi's eyes were full of emotion. I will go directly to Alabasta through the permanent pointer, and you will follow the marines and return to the country island by island. After Ikaram finished speaking, he jumped on a small boat and headed overseas without waiting for everyone to refute. Zoro on the side scratched his head in confusion. What happened is like parting life and death. Vivi said excitedly. You don't understand the horror of K-Lock Dale at all. Zoro nodded. I really don't know much about it, but I think Luffy is a little scarier, huh? Where's Luffy? At this time, everyone suddenly found that Luffy who was at the side disappeared at some point. Chapter 91 for 1 billion Pele. Advertisement. Ikaram in the distance looked reluctantly at Princess Vivi on the shore. He knew that his trip as a bait must be bad or bad. However, before he finished sighing, he only felt a whirlwind, and he was dragged away by a strong force. And at the same time, a violent explosion occurred on the boat. Sure, Vivi stared at the boat disappearing into the sea with wide eyes, and fell into a daze. Nami, who originally complained that everyone provoked Shichibukai, directly hugged Vivi in his arms. No problem. We will definitely send you back. The few of them, although they look unreliable at ordinary times, are also great heroes who saved East Blue. What about Lock Works? What about Lock Doll? Shichibukai, we don't care at all. Nami tightly hugged Vivi who had already bitten her lips, at this time she felt extraordinarily reassuring. And above the sea, a large turtle is floating behind the explosion. Robin was sitting on a large sofa with his cheeks in his hands. What a fool, what kind of bait is it? Robin taunted Ikaram who was still in shock. You are. Ikaram looked at the woman in front of 14 in shock, Miss. All Sunday. Why did you save me? Robin didn't answer Ikaram at all, she looked at what Zoro and others were thinking on the port, who knows? Of course she doesn't want you to die. Then a voice came from behind Robin. Robin, who was originally calm, suddenly changed his face. Who? However, she had just turned her head when she saw a scarlet eye, and a seagull-shaped red light directly caught Robin's eyes. Robin's eyes turned red for a moment and he fell into a daze. This ability is really convenient. Luffy looked at the controlled Robin and clicked his tongue. It's a pity that Lelouch didn't use it to do some strange things. Master Luffy. Ikaram looked at Luffy who appeared behind Robin in astonishment. Why is the picture here? Advertisement. Luffy waved her hands casually. Oh, I'm passing by, and I'll drop you off by the way. Then Luffy lay down next to Robin's ear and ordered, live. The red light in Robin's eyes flashed back to normal. Who? Robin looked around for the first time, but found nothing. She frowned at Ikaram and asked, was anyone here just now? Ikaram shook his head remembering the silence Luffy made before leaving. Is it my auditory hallucination? Robin frowned, and then said to Ikaram, I can't let you go back now, wait for Miss Wednesday. Oh, it should be Princess Vivi and well, I'll put you back in town after Marine is gone. Ikaram frowned after hearing this. What do you mean? Robin looked indifferent. It's just for fun. There was an angry expression in Ikaram's eyes but he didn't make any rebuttal. Robin glanced at Ikaram in admiration. Smart choice. At this time, Zoro and others have joined Usopp and Sanji who were awakened by Luffy. Why is the town like this? Is this an alien attack? The two looked at the ruined town with dazed expressions. Well, that's a long story. Zoro didn't want to explain to the two sleepy idiots at all. Anyway, it's Luffy's fault. Nani. He entertained us with delicious food and drink, but Luffy demolished his town. Then this group of people came to settle accounts with us. Sanji pointed at the bounty hunters who had been controlled by the Geass and said solemnly. You can't say that either. Ikaram's death made Zoro a mess. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Have you seen Luffy? Usopp and Sanji shook their heads. When they woke up, there were already ruins around them. Fortunately, no one saw it. We didn't meet Zoro until we came to the port. Yo, Luffy smiled and waved to everyone. B******************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************e What did you do? Advertisement. Thinking of the sad Vivi, Nami didn't continue to say more. However, Vivi still couldn't stop crying. Luffy sighed helplessly. Sorry, I went to the boat to rescue him just now. Everyone fell silent when they heard the morning, and Vivi couldn't help but burst into tears. It turns out that I went to save him. Saved. UB****************. Everyone yelled at Luffy frantically. Vivi also looked at Luffy in surprise. Ikalem is not dead. Luffy nodded. The reason why he didn't object to Ikaram was originally because of Luo Chen. He knew Robin would save Ikaram from the explosion. Her purpose is to study the historical text, and if she can do something to add to Lockdoll's problems, she must come at her convenience. Where's Ikaram? Vivi hurriedly asked nervously. I put him in a safe place, save him from wanting to go to sea as bait. Luffy rubbed his chin and said, as expected, this guy probably solved it when he met again. However, Zoro and the others did look worthy of being captains. 953. Vivi also became sad again and then pretended to be calm. Really? That's good. Nami stepped forward and said in a low voice, I didn't expect you to have a high EQ. You know that lying makes Vivi less sad. But your excuse is too bad, and Vivi can see it. Quote ? Nami continued to wave his fist with righteous indignation. Damn clock doll. It's so cruel. This time we must seek justice for Vivi. Vivi was moved and shed tears of sadness. Definitely not for the Billion Bailey's commission. Vivi. At this moment, Usopp and Sanji only felt that they had fallen asleep and the world war outside was over, so the two had no choice but to board the ship in a daze. Luffy waved to the bounty hunter below. Continue to do what you were doing before, and I will send a guy named Buggy over to find you in the future, and you will be under his control. The bounty hunters below knelt down and drank together. Yes, Your Highness. At the same time, the reduction rate of the Lelouch template loaded by Luffy has directly increased by 30 percentage points, reaching 87%. It was at this moment that Circus C dragged his chin and stared blankly at Luffy, not knowing what he was thinking. Chapter 92 shocked Robin. Advertisement. I don't have time to look for it now. But I can't leave him here. But, Zoro looked at Nami and Vivi who were arguing below and asked strangely, what are you looking for? He said the duck was almost gone. Nami yelled at Zoro. Zoro. Huh, Vivi said worriedly. I came back as soon as I whistled, but I didn't come. Zoro looked at the big duck standing beside him expressionlessly. Is it this one? Run fast. Gah, Vivi, Nami, Pan. When did you go up? Hello. He came earlier than us. The sun gradually rose, and the Mary left Whiskey Hill slowly with the monsoon. Nami took a deep breath. Huh, I should be able to leave this island soon. It's foggy, doesn't it matter? Be careful to hit the rocks. Don't worry, there is me as a navigator. Quote. Vivi, were you talking just now? No. Vivi asked Nami strangely, why do you say that? At this time, everyone looked behind in unison, and sure enough, there was a woman wearing a cowboy hat sitting on the mast. Nice boat. Robin dragged his chin and looked at the group of people below with interest. Vivi stared at Robin with wide eyes in shock. Yes. Robin smiled and said to Vivi, I was doing kendo Mr. 8 over there just now. Vivi immediately stared at Robin angrily. It's you who put Ikaram on him. Zoro and Nami looked at the emotional Vivi with strange expressions. What's wrong? Who the hell is she? Miss All Sunday. Mr. Zero's partner. Vivi said solemnly. Advertisement. Clock Doll's partner. Nami was taken aback for a moment. Luffy looked at Robin with a strange expression. How dare you appear on this ship? It seems that you are kinder than I look like. Robin's originally calm expression suddenly froze, as if he didn't know what Luffy meant. Luffy, you know this guy. Zoro looked at Luffy strangely. Of course, Luffy smiled. This is our next crew member. Nani. Everyone opened their mouths and looked at Luffy in surprise. Aren't you kidding me? This is the only woman who knows the identity of MR0, and we only found out the identity of the boss by following him. Vivi looked at Luffy in disbelief and said. To be precise, I asked you to follow me, Robin added with a smile to Vivi. You don't even know my identity and you want me to be a crew member. I knew that kind of thing a long time ago. Vivi was still furious, but you were the one who sued the boss for exposing this matter, right? Correct. What is your purpose? Vivi yelled at Robin angrily. Robin still kept smiling. Who knows, maybe I just saw that you were too serious, so I accidentally helped you, and the princess who is an enemy of the Pakistan Lock Work Agency and wants to save the country is really stupid. Quote. Seeing Robin's indifferent expression, Vivi immediately thought of the dead Ikaram, shouted angrily and wanted to kill Robin directly. Slap. However, Luffy held Vivi down, and gently patted Vivi's head. I'm helping you, can't you tell? Vivi opened Luffy's hand. It's obviously her. If it wasn't for her, Ikaram. Luffy sighed helplessly. I told you, Ikaram is not dead, why don't you believe it? But Robin on the railing was shocked, and blurted out, "How do you know?" Vivi was overjoyed when he heard the words, "Ikaram is really alive." Luffy shrugged. He is the savior of Ikaram. If it wasn't for him, Ikaram would have been killed by the bombs dropped by the Vulture and Seto. What, Luffy, did you see who dropped the bomb? Nami was taken aback when he heard what Luffy said. Luffy gave a thumbs up. Of course I saw that unlucky duo put it in with my own eyes. Advertisement. Nami, *za. Then you don't stop Ikaram from going to sea. Hey, put a long line to catch a big fish, isn't this a big fish coming out? Luffy looked at Robin and said, I thought you wouldn't dare to appear on my boat, but I didn't expect you to underestimate your kindness. Luffy looked at Robin with a smile, is it? The legendary son of the devil, Niccolo. The face of Robin on the opposite side changed greatly, how do you know? The moment Robin lost control of his emotions, a pair of arms suddenly appeared from the back of the crowd and strangled them tightly around their necks. What's this? Ah, I have hands on my neck. Everyone looked at the arms around their necks in horror, as if they would cut off their necks the next moment. And Robin looked at Luffy with a dark face. Who the hell are you? You must know that the reward order is a photo of her when she was 8 years old. She has been incognito for so many years, and she is far from the photo. At this time, Robin felt for the first time that things were out of his control. The rest looked at Robin and Luffy strangely. The devil's son. Nico Robin. Who is that, and why is she said to be kind? Does this look like kindness? Luffy stretched out his hand to show that he didn't have any malicious intentions. I'm also Garp's grandson anyway, and Aokiji is my brother. Is it difficult to know your news? Robin's expression changed instantly when he heard Aokiji's name. What are you going to do? Robin asked Luffy excitedly. Monkey D. Luffy. Robin asked Luffy word by word, especially when he said D, his tone was aggravated. Luffy didn't panic at all about Robin's vicious expression, instead he opened his mouth to himself. Nico Robin became a survivor of Ohara when he was only 8 years old. He has been hunted down by the world government for many years. In order to survive, he had no choice but to move between various pirate groups. The last time was with Lock Doll Cooperates. Shinma Zhao, seeing Clock's plan, and Vivi, who is trying to save the country, is soft-hearted and helps her find the mastermind behind the scenes. In order for Vivi to recognize the gap in strength between herself and the Pakistani Lock Work Agency, she deliberately exposed her identity as an undercover agent. While sending out the killer, he himself followed, preparing to deceive Lock by creating the news of the fake death of the two. It's a pity that we encountered this unexpected situation. And the reason why I came here is because I found out that the next stop of the record pointer in Nami's hand is the little garden, which is said to be only accessible, so I'm here to give away the permanent pointer, right? Following Luffy's words, Luo Shi's face was full of shock. Vivi also looked at Robin on the fence in disbelief. If Ikaram is really alive as Luffy said, then Robin has indeed been helping them all the time. Luffy smiled and continued to Robin. As for my purpose, didn't I say it? You are my next crew member, how about it? Do you consider hiding in the marine? Chapter 93 Encountered Hunting, Target Little Garden. Advertisement. I do not know what you're talking about. Robin threw an eternity pointer to Vivi angrily, and then jumped onto a huge turtle in a panic. Come on, bunch. Robin ordered the huge turtle with a cigar in its mouth to leave quickly. Vivi looked at the pointer in her hand and sat down on the deck. Is she really helping us? Hey, if that lady is a good person, why don't you hurry and get her back? Sanji looked at Robin's back full of nympho. What's the rush? Do you think people are as easy to deceive as your brother, the perverted cook? Luffy chuckled. Nani, Luffy, are you going to fight? Sanji gestured at Luffy with his teeth and claws. Nami knocked him unconscious with a punch. Shut up. I'm a mess now. Zoro and Usopp looked at Robin's back and shouted, what a big turtle. Luffy, was everything you said before true? Holding the eternal pointer in his hand, Vivi's face was full of hope. Ikaram is not dead, and all Sunday has been helping us. Of course, Luffy smiled, but I didn't expect that she would have the courage to set foot on Marine's warship. It seems that she has been a little tired of living on the run for so many years. Nami asked Luffy strangely. By the way, you said before that she is the child of the 233 devil, or a pirate. Luffy shook his head and said slowly. To be precise, he is a bounty criminal. The bounty is 79 million Baileys. Nani. Everyone was stunned and shouted loudly. 79 million berry. Nami looked shocked. It's almost catching up with the 4 Arlongs. Vivi was also shocked. How could it be? You must know that before 7 warlords of the seas K-Lock became Shichibukai, he only had 81 million Baileys. Sanji stared at the direction Robin was leaving with nympho eyes. Is Miss Robin so strong? Zoro looked at the crowd speechlessly. Hey, you guys are Marines, why are you so excited? Advertisement. Did she do something heinous? Nami asked Luffy with a frown. Luffy was silent for a while, and casually lit a Sanji cigarette in his mouth. It's just a group of fools with no strength who tried to explore history and got implicated. Ha, everyone looked at Luffy suspiciously. Luffy laughed, and didn't explain too much. I'll tell you when she becomes a Betty partner. I can be sure that this guy didn't make any mistakes, it can only be said that he was born at the wrong time. Are the scholars of Ohara innocent? In terms of motives, it is indeed innocent. These people just want to interpret the history with blank records. But they ignore the fact that history is always written by the victors. The birth of a unity must be accompanied by fire, and these cruelties will be rewritten by the victors as the righteous ones. In the absence of strength, they tried in vain to interpret and restore the history and words that those rulers were afraid of. This is intolerable for any ruling class. Then the demise of Ohara must be inevitable. Trying to touch the bottom line of the world government without enough strength is simply killing you. Therefore, although Luffy does not agree with the Buster Call, it is not incomprehensible. If Luffy is on the side of the world government, he may make the same order. After all, in the face of a group of people who have no strength, but are jumping around studying things that they have explicitly prohibited, no one is upset. But the understanding is the understanding. Luffy is Joey Boy who ate the Nika fruit. Once awakened, the future is doomed to be incompatible with the world government. Then Robin, who can interpret the historical text, whether it is because of his love for the original plot or to find a legitimate reason to rise up in the future, Luffy will naturally not give up on Robin. As for Robin Ohara's identity, it is estimated that the world government does not think that the 8-year-old Robin can interpret the text of history. Otherwise, they wouldn't have turned a blind eye to Aokiji's behavior of releasing water for so many years. It's purely to sell face to Aokiji who has become admiral. As long as Luffy doesn't go around showing off Robin's identity in a big way, no one in the world government will trouble Luffy. After all, the dignified withdrawal of fruit ability user Garp's face is not comparable to Aokiji's face. Advertisement. Everyone saw that Luffy didn't intend to mention Robin too much, so they didn't go into it. After all, he was the captain and the highest officer of the ship. At this time, Nami took the pointer in Vivi's hand and looked at it for a while, and sure enough, the pointer was always pointing to the east, which was different from the record pointer in his hand. If that all Sunday is a good guy, then can we go directly to Alabasta according to this guideline? Nami turned to Luffy and asked. Luffy grinned. No, we continue to follow the original route. Nani? Why? Everyone looked at Luffy in puzzlement. Vivi also hurriedly reminded. Ba Lock has more than 2,000 people, and there are several nearby towns similar to Whiskey Hill. If we continue to follow this route, we will definitely encounter many pursuers. When Nami heard that there were more than 2,000 people, he exclaimed, there are so many. Let's use the permanent pointer. How do I get Bar Lock to work if they don't come? Luffy said to Nami strangely. Ah, Luffy chuckled. You see Zoro and Sanji are a little scared of this mob. Zoro smiled proudly. Don't say 2,000 people, even 20,000 people, I can show you. Luffy nodded. Courage is admirable, don't say that there are actually a million elders and hundreds of millions of elders in the Lock Works, maybe there are tens of thousands of elders in total. Zoro froze when he heard that. Sanji on the side shouted with red eyes. As long as Princess Vivi becomes our companion, let alone 10,000 people, 100,000 people will be fine. Hey, you perverted cook, what are you bragging about? Huh, chloral ahead, don't call me if you can't do it yourself. What's the situation now, can someone explain to me in detail? Usopp looked at everyone with a depressed face. After waking up from the explosion, he has been in a dazed state. Ah. Why is there an ostrich on board? That's a duck, run fast. Gah, the melee sailed straight towards Little Garden amidst the noise. And behind them countless boats whistling with the Bar Lock Work Agency are ready to go. Chapter 94. Luffy's Death. Advertisement. 3 Swords Style, Tornado. Barbecue set. A group of little Carla Mi were kicked and scattered as Zoro and Sanji shouted. On the melee, Luffy and Nami drank coffee leisurely and watched the battle on a Bar Lock ship not far away. How many waves is this? It took Nami only 2 days from the initial nervousness to numbness. A steady stream of Pakistani lock workers among the two came to send heads to everyone. A dozen waves, right. But the frequency seems to be much lower. Luffy yawned and said. Vivi on the side looked excitedly at Zoro and Kamui, and she was full of confidence for this trip back home. Soon Zoro and Sanji tied the group of youngsters to the boat and jumped back. Done. Sanji excitedly yelled at Nami, Circus C. And Vivi, Nami-san, Vivi-san Circa Century-chan, did you see my big Kamui? Are you overwhelmed by my heroic figure? Nami waved his hand in disgust. Not at all. Sanji suddenly hid in the corner with a depressed face and drew circles. Zoro cast a contemptuous glance at Sanji, this idiot. Then he walked up to Luffy and said, it's your turn. Luffy yawned and stood up, flying straight to the opposite boat. Scarlet eyes glared at members of Bar Lock, obey me. Gios instantly controlled the group of youngsters. Shouting too many times, Luffy even said the pretend softly. Yes, your highness. The little minions were instantly manipulated by Luffy, and were sent back the same way by Luffy, becoming a ruthless tool man. Luffy looked at the leaving crowd, and looked directly at his own system panel. Advertisement. Open black lens bracket host. Wong Luffy Monkey D. Luffy close black lens bracket. Current loading template. Lelouch v Britannia, 0. Equipment. 0 mask holographic mask, which covers the whole head without affecting the line of sight. Mirage special equipment has been stored in the system space. Innate ability. IQ, this template has good analysis and calculation ability. Gios absolute command, enough to make the recruiter absolutely obey his own order. Must look directly into the opponent's eyes, and cannot see through indirect vision, such as TV screens, monitors. Takes effect. The effective distance is about 270 meters. It can only be used once for the same person. It can be eliminated, it can be resisted, and it can be used again after elimination. Open black lens bracket contractor. CC close black lens bracket. Character reset countdown. 10 hours and 59 minutes. Character reduction degree. 99%. After these few days of using Gios and proficiency in mechas, Lelouch's restoration speed has reached a critical point. However, recently Luffy found that no matter how many times he used the Gios, the last bit of proficiency did not increase at all. Luffy frowned and went back to the Mary. Nami asked in surprise after seeing it, "What's wrong?" Luffy shook his head. "It's just reached the bottleneck." Zoro looked at Luffy in shock. "You still have a bottleneck?" Different from the original book, Luffy will take the initiative to find Zoro and Sanji to practice together whenever he has time. Play Iron with Zoro, and learn Marine 6 styles from Garp with Sanji. Although the rest time is short, the few people are more or less stronger than themselves in the plot. Especially Luffy, he can faintly feel the flow of armament haki at this time, and he believes that it will not be long before he can reach the stage of entanglement. In the eyes of Zoro and others, Luffy with such strength has made rapid progress, but Luffy actually said that he still has a bottleneck. This made Zoro feel dissatisfied, and turned around to go to the deck to push the iron. At this moment, Circus C suddenly stepped forward and said to Luffy solemnly, "It's time to complete the contract between us." Everyone looked at Circus C. After hearing the words, only Vivi asked Nami next to him with a puzzled face, "Contract? What contract?" Nami didn't answer but turned to Circus C. In disbelief, "You really want to complete that ridiculous contract?" Circus C said with a blank face, "This is what I decided when I bestowed on Luffy." "Hey, CC-chan, don't be kidding me." Sanji also looked at Circus C excitedly and persuaded, "How can you give up your life casually?" Advertisement. Vivi was full of doubts at this moment. "What are you talking about? What is the contract between her and Mr. Luffy?" Usopp whispered. "It is said that she made a contract with Luffy that she must kill her herself." What? Vivi looked at Circus C in surprise. She didn't know why this girl who usually eats pizza quietly made such a contract. Luffy's face was also a little ugly at this time, and he finally knew why Lelouch's template restoration rate could not reach 100%. This time, the system has an additional contractor circa century, just to restore 100% of the template. Because Lelouch finally got the code of eternal life. Originally, Lelouch killed the father who inherited versus code, and thus inherited the code of versus V. However, there is no VV in this world at this time. If you want to get the code, you can only achieve 100% recovery by killing the Circus C in front of you. Although it is only one-sided, Luffy is not the kind of person who kills innocent people indiscriminately for rewards, even if this person is about to disappear. Luffy shook his head decisively at Circus Century, and was about to say no. Circus C jumped into Luffy's arms suddenly, and kissed Luffy directly under the stunned eyes of everyone. Damn it, why doesn't Circus C sauce like me? Sanji looks at Luffy with envy. Nami and Vivi blushed shyly at the side. PFF'd. It's still broad daylight. But in Luffy's side it's different. The moment Circus C kissed her, Circus C's life began to reverse like a horse on a horse. Overthrow Britannia, establish the code order. Until the picture freezes on a certain day in the Middle Ages, a nun stabs a dagger into Circus C's chest with red eyes. Luffy lost consciousness instantly when he saw this. In the eyes of others, Circus Century, who was kissing Luffy passionately, suddenly took out a dagger and directly stabbed it into Luffy's chest. What are you doing? Everyone exclaimed loudly. However, it was too late at this time, and Luffy, who was hit in the heart, fell down amidst the shocked and angry expressions of everyone. Ding! Congratulations to host Lelouch v Britannia, the Zero Template Restoration degree has reached 100%. Chapter 95 Resurrection. Terrible Rewards. God Power Code. Advertisement. I do not know how long it has been. The melee was walking aimlessly on the route. Nami was already crying at this time, and in front of him was Luffy, whose chest was full of blood. Sanji was sitting at the dining table smoking a cigarette. Zoro clenched the word, Hidao, in his hand angrily. Vivi was too scared to say a word by the solemn atmosphere in the cabin. Suddenly Usopp ran in a hurry. It's bad. That girl is gone. Boom. What? Zoro smashed the table angrily. How could it be missing? Did you just run away from laziness? Usopp shouted. How is that possible? I stared at her for 10 hours without blinking, and then disappeared in a blink of an eye. Zoro grabbed Usopp and ran to the warehouse quickly, and sure enough, there was only one rope left on the CC that was originally tied up. How come? Zoro's face was ugly. The murderer who killed Luffy escaped. Usopp bowed his head in shame. But at this moment, a huge force swept across the entire melee. Usopp fainted before he could stand still. Zoro looked at the cabin of the melee in horror. What is this? He ran to the upper floor with difficulty, but saw Nami and Vivi fainted on the ground, and only Sanji was sweating profusely resisting the force. What happened? Zoro asked Sanji angrily. Sanji gestured to Zoro with difficulty. Zoro turned his head and saw that the dead Luffy was frowning and rubbing his temples, and this power was the awakened conqueror's haki. Damn, my head hurts. Luffy slowly opened his eyes from the buzzing in his head. He looked around and saw Zoro and Sanji who were slumped on the ground, Nami and others who were fainted. Huh, what's wrong with you guys? Advertisement. Luffy looked strangely at Zoro and Sanji who were staring at him in horror. Why do they sleep on the ground? They are not afraid of catching cold. Luffy smiled and prepared to move the two to bed to rest together. Who would have thought that Zoro directly blocked Nami with the knife? Are you a human or a ghost? Luffy looked at Zoro in bewilderment. What do you mean? Zoro pouted at Luffy's chest, and Luffy looked down to see the bloodline all over his body and the clothes with a hole in them. My grass! Luffy screamed, and took a look at his clothes, but there was only a scar on his chest. Who the FK stabbed me? Luffy looked at Scar with a mask on his face. Zoro looked at Luffy strangely. You don't know. Just that circa century, I'll stab you for a kiss. The picture I saw in the memory corridor before I fell into a coma came in seconds. Luffy was startled, and blurted out, where is circa? Zoro shook his head. I don't know, it just disappeared. Luffy heard the words and hurriedly read the system panel in his mind to find the system prompt. Ding, congratulations to host Lelouch v Britannia, 0 template restoration has reached 100%. Ding dong, Lelouch v Britannia, 0 template has expired. Congratulations to host Lelouch v Britannia, the 0 template restoration degree has reached 100%, and the reward will be drawn soon, close black lens bracket. Congratulations on obtaining a special hidden reward, God's Power Code. Open black lens bracket. Do you want to enable template refollowing, close black lens bracket? Really? Luffy's shock was beyond words when he saw the system prompt. To complete the awakening of the code, in addition to killing the original code holder by the Gios-capable user who opened his eyes, there is another way that the code holder forcibly adopts the code to the Gios contractor. The earliest circa C was forcibly adopted by the nun of the previous code holder, and this method was the code holder who killed the Gios ability user of his contract. However, this adoptive method has obvious flaws, that is, if there is not enough willpower, the code cannot be inherited at all. Advertisement. Otherwise, the nun wouldn't wait until she went crazy before forcibly using this method to transition the code to circa C. Fortunately, Luffy is a human being in 2 lifetimes, and his body has the qualifications of Conqueror's Haki. With the blessing of double reasons, Luffy successfully inherited the code of circa century, completed the restoration of Lelouch's template and awakened Conqueror's Haki. But Luffy never thought that this kind of skill that is not written on the template attribute can be extracted. And got it myself. This skill is undoubtedly the most powerful skill since I came to Pirate World. If Gios can be summed up as integrating the power of others. If you want to understand the heart of others, you can melt into their thoughts and see their hearts. If you want to know what others are going to do, you can integrate into their thoughts and predict their behavior. If you want to get the love of others, you can melt into their thoughts and make them give love to themselves in reality. The minds, spirits and souls of these others are protected by solid copper walls and iron walls, and it is absolutely impossible for anyone other than themselves to interfere. And by touching these, then having some effect on them, and getting the effect, this is the essence of Gios, ability. But code is different. If Gios is the power of king, then the power of code is the power of God. Code's immortality will affect the host's inner body, but this is only a byproduct. The essence of code is to immobilize human beings and the world. It's like human beings are born from the root and eventually return to the root. From birth to death is a cycle. However, the existence of code does not allow people to go back to the root. It cuts off the loop of reincarnation and leaves people, and the world they create, at the moment they want. This is the use of code in the true sense of 5.6. To put it simply, Luffy's body will only stay at his peak moment, and will only become stronger but will not fall or die. From this moment on, Luffy's body already has the characteristics of immortality. Although he does not have any bonus to strength, this is simply the biggest cheat for Nika Fruit who relies on consuming vitality in exchange for strength. Unlike in the original book where Luffy beats Kaido by consuming life in exchange for physical strength, Luffy at this time can remain awake for 24 hours after awakening. Back to the top. At this time, Luffy only had one sentence in his mind. This TM is awesome. Chapter 96. Ghosts like this scumbag. Advertisement. Nami. Luffy slapped Nami's cheek. After confirming the situation, he hurried to wake Nami up. Oh my god, ghost. A scream followed by a fist that knocked Luffy straight out. When Nami took a closer look, he found Luffy standing in front of him alive. In the next second, he fell directly into Luffy's arms and cried. I thought you were dead, woo woo woo. Looking at Nami's pear blossoms with rain, Luffy felt a sense of guilt, that is, this time belonged to an oolong. If she really died, Nami and others would be very sad. Just when Luffy was thinking about how to comfort Nami, Nami's fist hit Luffy violently. I'll let you find Miss Sister again, and let you sign another contract. Looking at the excited Nami, Luffy finally knew how Nami smashed Luffy's nose and face when he was furious in the original book. He decisively used the rubber fruit ability plus life return to make himself bruised and bruised. Soon Nami couldn't do it anymore. 14. HMPH. Let's see if you dare to do it in the future. Nami waved his fist angrily. Luffy laughed. Don't dare, don't dare. At this time, the rest of the people gradually woke up, and Usopp covered his head and moaned. Why do I feel like someone is using a big hammer to round my head? Ah, scary. It's a scam. Usopp sees Luffy's eyes popping out of fear. When everyone woke up, Luffy told everyone about Circa C, adopting the super power code to himself. Nani. Everyone cheered loudly after listening to Luffy's explanation. That is to say, you are also immortal now. Zoro looked at Luffy suspiciously and said, let me try to chop you up. Luffy. Get out. Nami and Vivi looked at Luffy with jealousy. Does that mean your skin will be smooth and supple? Sanji took a puff of cigarette and put forward a more constructive suggestion. Is it because we don't have food storage in the future? We can kill you and eat you. Anyway, you can be resurrected again. Luffy. Back dish convex. Believe it or not, I'll kill you first. The crowd fought for a while, and the melee returned to laughter again. As for whether people believe that Luffy is immortal, probably only they know. Nami patted himself on the cheek. Very good. Replan the direction. Go to the next destination. Advertisement. Everyone was taken aback when they heard the words, didn't we sail to the next island? Nami looked at this kind of person with a look of disgust. Luffy is dead, how can I have the mood to steer the helm? Everyone roared wildly. Are you planning to bury us with Luffy? Ha ha, ha, don't worry about those details. Nami hurried to the cab. 10 hours of yaw made everyone farther away from the direction of Little Garden. Anyone want to go fishing? Luffy asked everyone with a fishing rod. Me. Usopp hastily raised his hand. Sanji stood up and walked into the cabin. I'm going to get the bait. Zoro rolled his eyes looking at the excited people and found a corner to lie down and continue to sleep. In order to appease the emotions of the crew, he, the deputy captain, was exhausted. Sanji. Why is the bait empty? Luffy. Ah, the bait seems to let me feed the ducks. Sanji. Huh, how do we fish when you feed the ducks? Luffy. How about we try it with duck? Sanji clapped his hands. Huh, that's a good idea. Run fast. Gah, suddenly the three of them started chasing a duck on the deck. Stop, stop, when you catch sea kings, I'll share the meat with you. Gah, 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 Nami was furiously yelled at the yuppies who were annoyed by the yelling. Give me enough time. Vivi looked at Luffy speechlessly and said, it's hard to imagine that he turned out to be the Marine Commodore Supernova that Marine focuses on, and it doesn't look like a serious Marine. Nami also laughed. It's true that ordinary people can't even imagine it. Zoro opened his eyes below and waved his hands. No, I'm afraid everyone now knows that Luffy is a parallel importer Marine who came in through the back door. Nami thought of the scene of performing martial arts at naval headquarters, and immediately nodded in agreement. Vivi on the side looked at the two with a strange face, not knowing what they meant. But Luffy is very reliable when he is serious. Nami remembered when Luffy helped him destroy Arlong Paradise, and looked at Luffy's figure with an unconscious smile on his lips. Huh, Vivi poked at Nami in a low voice with a teasing smile, do you like him? Nami blushed and glared at Vivi. The devil likes him as a scumbag. HMPH. After speaking, Nami turned and walked directly towards the rudder. Enough is enough. Bastards. Advertisement. Zoro screamed in pain when he was stepped on by Sanji. If you have nothing to do, go to exercise. Save the time and let a little girl who can't hold a chicken get stabbed. Luffy gave Zoro a blank look. Have you ever seen a little girl over 1,000 years old? He is older than your ancestors. Zoro. Boil. Forget it. Anyway, I don't think we can catch anything with this duck. I'm going to prepare some special drinks. Do you want anything? Sanji let go of his struggle and ran towards the kitchen. As a result, he ran fast and heard the drink squawking and followed. Oh, and I. Luffy and Zoro raised their hands in response. Only Vivi looked at the leisurely crowd 247 and his face became a little ugly. His own country is in danger. At this time, Nami smiled and offered Vivi a glass of drink to comfort him. Trust Luffy, at least this kind of boat will make you forget a lot of troubles, won't it? Vivi looked at the crowd below hesitantly. Oh, look, ducks can drink drinks. Have a drink. Have another drink. With a thud, he ran quickly and fell to the ground. PFF'd. Ha 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 silly duck, there is alcohol in here ha ha ha. Come on, let's tie him up and fish sea kings. Hey, hey. Vivi, watch you. You guys are enough. Let me put down the running. And at this moment, a huge dolphin leapt from the sea. Everyone who was fighting together looked at the sky. What a cute dolphin. Stupid. Run. You're going to overturn the boat. Everyone moved in unison. The helm of the helm, the sail of the sail. In Vivi's surprised expression, the shadow of Little Garden appeared before everyone's eyes. Luffy looked at the mountains formed by the huge sea kings, and there was a flash of shock in his eyes. Is this the power of Titan in the pirate world? In the future, I can also control this power myself. System. Open the next template immediately. Chapter 97 New template. How many floors does a bag of rice have to carry? Advertisement. Ding dong, templates are random. Open black lens bracket. Congratulations on getting the template this time. Uzumaki Nagato. Close black lens bracket. Ding dong, anti-MI male Uzumaki Nagato template is equipped. Character reset countdown. 6 days, 23 hours and 59 minutes. Current reduction rate is 50%. Please check the property panel for detailed properties. With the possession of a human figure, chakra from the Hokage world reappeared in Luffy's body, and it was more terrifying than the ghost shark template before. I boiled. Luffy listened to the prompt from the system in astonishment. Uzumaki Nagato. 6 paths pain. Luffy opened the system panel in surprise. Open black lens bracket host. Wong Luffy Monkey D. Luffy close black lens bracket. Current loading template. 6 paths pain Uzumaki Nagato. Anti-MI male. Open black lens bracket equipment. Black rod chakra receiver. 6 paths pain close black lens bracket. Innate abilities. Rinnegan, summoning, universal pull, Shenluo Tianzhong, planetary devastation, summoning Cerberus, Yata bird, chameleon, chakra, physical strength, devouring, sealing spell suction, Soul extraction. Hades wheel regeneration. Mechanism armor. Attack of Asura. Summoning Gedo statue. Chakra dragon. Heterogeneous Rinne Tensai, Uzumaki bloodline. Ninjutsu skills. 6 kinds of chakra attribute ninjutsu, rain tiger free technique. Character reset countdown. 6 days, 23 hours and 59 minutes. Character reduction degree, 50%. It really is pen. Luffy looked at his system panel full of surprises. He was still thinking about how to get through Little Garden, but he didn't expect the system to be so powerful and directly gave him a 6 paths pain template. This is the most B character villain boss in the early stage of Hokage. Although he was finally defeated by Uzumaki Naruto, who is also the prince like himself, this is the boss who flattened Konoha with his own strength. I saw Luffy flying directly towards Little Garden amidst Zoro and others' facial expressions. I boiled. You slap me, did Luffy fly away? Sanji turned his head to Zoro who was beside him and said in a daze. Slap. Zoro shook his hand. It seems to have flown away. B*********** dechlorella. Are you looking for death? Sanji yelled while covering his flushed face. Zoro showed no sign of weakness. Come to fight. You asked me to fight the perverted cook. I tell you to hit you, and I tell you to die, why don't you die? Call, do you think I'm as stupid as you? Advertisement. Sanji. Hash dish convex. Zoro. Jong dish convex. Boom, boom. After 2 muffled sounds, Nami stood behind the 2 of them with a dark face and raised his fists. I want to fight on the island. If you dare to destroy the boat, I will castrate you too. Zoro. Sanji. Long Masai. Oh, the tigress is the most powerful on this ship. Usopp shook his head and sighed. He ran fast and nodded again and again. Quack. Boom, boom. One duck followed in the footsteps of Zoro and others. At this time, Luffy flew back to the melee and hugged Nami. With Nami screaming, the 2 rose straight from the sky. Come on, Dad will fly to let you feel the charm of nature. Let's have an air shock some other day. Speaking, Luffy uses Rinnegan's gravity control to fly around in the sky. From surprise to joy, Nami screamed excitedly. After all, flying in any world is the dream of many people. Just when Luffy arrives at Little Garden, on a resort island not far away, MR3 and Gold Jojung are drinking afternoon tea leisurely. Little Lolita Golden Week held a document in her hand and complained to Mr. 3, MR3, so boring. Mr. 3 picked up a cup of black tea and sniffed it, and let out a contented voice. As expected, you still need this Earl Grey tea for black tea. You are bored all day long, but you hate work, don't you? Golden Week nodded in agreement. Yeah. How about enjoying the happy time before the mission? This is a special privilege for our senior agents. Mr. 3 took another sip of black tea, looked at the document in Golden Week's hand. By the way, what is that thing in your hand? I see you have been holding it for several days. Golden Week. Oh, an order from the boss. Mr. 3. Poof. Why didn't you say it earlier? Mr. 3 snatched the command and took it into his hand to look at it. Has MR5 been defeated? HMPH, it's a pity it's not M2. That way you can break through. Are all the members sent out accidentally attacked by pirates and returned without success? Is it just because of this that I, a senior agent, is needed? Mr. 3's face darkened. Let me, a senior agent, let them experience the fate of fighting against criminal organizations. Golden Week. If we don't start again, we won't be able to catch up with them. Advertisement. M3. Then why didn't you give me the order earlier? Little Garden. Luffy and others looked at the huge plants on the island with novelty. This is the first wild island they have landed on since entering the Grand Line. Is this Little Garden? Sanji looked at the towering giant tree in a daze. How small is this? Zoro is also full of strange colors. Nami nodded. It's really not as cute as the name. Usopp looked tremblingly at the depths of the dark jungle. Yes, this place is simply a secret place. I will die and get sick as soon as I get on the island. I'd better stay on the melee and watch the ship. Suddenly there was a piercing cry. Nami and Usopp covered their ears in fright. Nympho Sanji looked at Nami with a nympho, kawaii. Usopp made a show of cuteness to Sanji when he heard the words, are you talking about me? Sanji. Jong Sanpan convex. What was that just now? Nami looked at the howling from the sky in horror with a look of horror. Ah, I thought you saw it just now. Luffy stepped forward and smiled at this moment. Isn't that the bird we saw earlier? Little bird. Nami looked at Luffy suspiciously. How big is little bird? It doesn't matter. It's just an ordinary bird, and this is an ordinary forest, don't worry. Sanji smiled at Nami and comforted Dao Sitai. He didn't notice that a pterosaur-like conceited green-feathered duck-billed bird had come behind him with big wings. Zoro and Luffy nodded. Indeed, it's just a bird. Huh, why do you two feel so embarrassed? Sanji looked strangely at Luffy and Zoro who were watching a show. In the next second, the big bird stretched out its claws and grabbed Sanji away. PFF ha ha ha, the chef was captured by the bird. The two laughed loudly below. Luffy directly pointed at the giant bird, and a terrifying suction pulled the bird back. Universal pull. Chapter 98 Breakthrough Little Gardens Wind-Style Grade Breakthrough. Advertisement. Shenluo Tianzhong. The huge blue bird and Sanji hit the big tree on the bank of the river with a bang. Sanji snarled at Luffy in rags, are you trying to kill me? Usopp on the side looked at it with bright eyes. Amazing, Luffy, how did you do it? Luffy smiled triumphantly and said a quote from Pain's classic Zhong Ole wa Kamida. I am God. Immediately, Zoro and others stared blankly at him. Due to the innumerable abilities Luffy has shown from the meeting to the present, everyone already has a strong heart at this time. God, crazy. Everyone complained in unison. Sanji kicked the giant bird cursingly. I'll make you into grilled chicken wings tonight. And at this moment, another giant tiger appeared in the forest. Its size was comparable to 1/3 of the size of Mei Li. Are you kidding me? Is this a tiger? Nami's eyes widened as he watched the tiger pounce on Sanji. Sanji contemptuously lit a cigarette and kicked the tiger upside down. Nami-san, am I handsome or not? Have you been fascinated by my heroic appearance? Sanji was handsome for only 3 seconds, and immediately after defeating the tiger, he became nympho to Nami. Usopp was sweating, raised his hand and shouted, Yushi. I decided not to log on this island. 620 feet. Nami also firmly agreed. Well, just wait for the magnetic record on this ship. Usopp. Exactly. Then leave this island as soon as possible. Usopp. Exactly. After all, gotta get to Alabasta ASAP. Usopp. Exactly. Zoro. Are you two talking about crosstalk? Plop. The sound of the anchor falling into the water made Nami and Usopp startled. The two looked back, only to see Luffy stepping on the fence, pointing at the dense forest and shouting, Go west, let's go. Nami, Usopp. Let's go Ghost. Advertisement. Luffy chuckled. There are 2 bounty criminals worth 100 million in Little Garden. If you catch you will get rich. Nami stared at the words. Go. Zoro. Sanji. Hi, Nami-san, I must catch those 2 pirates. Sanji happily responded loudly. Zoro said impatiently. Ah, why should I listen to you? Nami said with a smirk. You bought a knife in Rog Town and lent me 300,000 Baileys. Ah, didn't I return it to you that day? Zoro stared at Nami in disbelief and said. 9 out and 13 out, you haven't paid enough. Nami said triumphantly, with the interest these days, you still owe me 300,000 Baileys. Zoro looked at Nami with veins exposed. You must go to hell. Nami smiled at Zoro indifferently. Thank you for the compliment. Vivi's face is full of MMP in her heart. She asked Luffy, there are really 2 pirates here with a reward of 100 million. Luffy nodded with a smile. Of course, it's still the 100 million reward offered 100 years ago. 100 years ago. Vivi looked at Luffy in surprise. Nami looked at Vivi strangely. What's wrong? Is the reward order from 100 years ago invalid? Do you understand the seriousness of the matter? Vivi was a little crazy at this time. Even before Lock Doll became Shichibukai, there were only 81 million Baileys, not to mention the rewards offered 100 years ago. The rewards at that time were not as much as they are now. Don't worry, Luffy smiled and waved his hands. Don't think about it, it's been 100 years. Vivi was taken aback. That's right, those 2 pirates would have died of old age in 100 years, right? It seems that Luffy just wanted to arouse Nami's interest. What she didn't know was that these 2 big pirates were all titans, and they had a long lifespan and could live up to 350 years old. Vivi breathed a sigh of relief. Anyway, it will take at least 1 day to record the pointer and record the magnetic force, and he will only worry about Alabasta even more on the boat. Vivi said to Luffy, BECC, then I will go together. Why do you say that? Luffy and the others don't mind. It's too dangerous for you, isn't it? Nami persuaded Vivi, you'd better stay on the boat with me. It's okay. Don't worry, I ran fast, and he ran fast. Vivi smiled and pointed to the duck beside him. Run fast, Ko. Advertisement. It's about my bird. Hello. Luffy took the lunch box prepared by Sanji, and regretfully asked everyone again, are you sure you don't want to go? It's a good opportunity to have a picnic. What a pity to see the ecology of this primeval forest. Nami and Usopp stretched out their hands and shook them in unison. Impossible. Only ghosts get off the boat. Luffy sighed. In that case, summoning technique. With a bang, Pain Six Paths, dressed in a red cloud and black background with sticks stuck all over his body, appeared handsomely in front of everyone. Everyone looked at the 6 people in bewilderment. Who is this? Your bodyguard. After Luffy finished speaking, Lalotao quickly formed seals with both hands, summoning technique. A huge lizard was summoned. Mother. Monster. Usopp screamed in terror. Lolita waved her hand, and the lizard swallowed 6 Paths Pain and then disappeared in front of them. Ah, they ate Luffy. Usopp exclaimed loudly. Zoro and Sanji frowned and looked in the direction of the chameleon. They could vaguely perceive its position. Don't worry, it's just hiding. They are responsible for protecting you. Luffy smiled and retracted his vision in 6 Paths Pen. This kind of open feeling is quite strange. All pain is the same as the original body, and Luffy is not uncomfortable at all because of multiple perspectives. Next, Luffy looked at the dark forest and took a deep breath. Great breakthrough. Boom. While everyone was stunned, Luffy spewed out a wind blade like an air cannon, directly piercing through the forest on the entire island. Everyone stared at the scene in front of them dumbfounded. Usopp's eyes were even brighter. Ninjutsu. Is it wind style this time? The ninjutsu that Luffy hadn't used since the last time Luffy left Kokoyashi village reappeared in front of everyone. This power is a little too much. Zoro looked at the gap that had been flattened with a sore face. At the beginning, Orochimaru's great breakthrough directly plowed a gap in the Death Forest, but at this time Luffy used Pain's template to directly penetrate the little garden which is similar to the Death Forest. Looking at a flat dirt road, Luffy nodded in satisfaction. There are no roads in the world. If there are too many people blowing it, it will become a road. Everyone. I believe you a ghost. Chapter 99 Instigating against the entire marine system. Advertisement. Luffy led Zoro and Sanji down the newly built dirt road. Along the way, countless dinosaurs that were overturned by the hurricane screamed. This random one is enough meat for us for a week. Sanji took a breath and looked around. These dinosaurs. Luffy, is there really a bounty on here, offender? Zoro frowned and looked around. No matter how you looked at it, it was an uninhabited virgin forest. Vivi already regretted coming out with these three people at this time. She never thought that this island seemed to be like ancient times. Vivi couldn't help asking. This is a dinosaur. Aren't you curious? Huh, what's so curious? It's just a big prey. Zoro said indifferently. And at this moment, a huge brachiosaurus in the air bit down. Vivi was suddenly startled and screamed. Summoning technique. Cerberus. A huge three-headed dog with wings was summoned directly by Luffy. Zoro on the side said. You can't summon it, it's much smaller than this dinosaur. What's the rush? Strength doesn't depend on size. Luffy gave Zoro a blank look and said. The head of the Cerberus rushed forward, biting the brachiosaurus, neck tightly, and a large amount of blood spurted out from the brachiosaurus' body. Brachiosaurus screamed in pain. Suddenly, more than a dozen larger brachiosaurus appeared in the sky. Come on, this guy is just a cub. Zoro looked at the other taller brachiosaurus in astonishment and said nothing. You must know that the one that attacked everyone at the beginning was at least 20 meters away. The Cerberus, which was already 5 or 6 meters old, was torn off like a toy and thrown on the ground. Sanji gloated at the Cerberus that was pulled down and thrown to the ground. It's over, your dog is going to be cold. Luffy. It's early, you underestimate my way too much. I saw that the torn body of the Cerberus suddenly split into two, and soon became two identical Cerberus. What, can it still be split? Sanji watched in astonishment as the two hellhounds flapped their wings again and rushed towards Brachiosaurus. Advertisement. Afterwards, everyone saw what is called crowd tactics. Under the attack of the Brachiosaurus, one hellhound was born, and soon dozens of hellhounds bit the group of Brachiosaurus crazily like hunting dogs living in groups. Sanji looked at the hellhounds in the sky in shock and swallowed. What kind of ninjutsu are you doing? Isn't this too outrageous? Luffy smiled triumphantly. This is the summoning technique that increases the animal path in 6 paths pain. It is a summoning technique with special conditions attached. Summoning objects are given conditions such as proliferate as soon as they are attacked. Once this condition is met, he will activate the trap of proliferation. Summoning objects that increase with the attack, never-ending reincarnation attack. As long as there are enough chakra, theoretically, an infinite number of summoning beasts can be copied. Taking Nagato's vortex bloodline as an example, there is no problem at all in separating out 180 ones. Soon, more than a dozen Brachiosaurus were bitten by hell dogs and screamed again and again. The leader at the head wailed and yelled, and led the tribe to flee towards the coast frantically, leaving behind several corpses of the tribe who died tragically. Gee, gee gee. Suddenly, a strange laughter came from the air beside him. Everyone turned their heads to look, and a long-bearded titan with a height of 20 meters was laughing and looking at everyone. Real or fake? Zoro and Sanji gasped. Good day. You actually dare to fight against the long necks in this forest. You are really a brave person. It has been a long time since you have had any guests. Luffy smiled slightly. The strongest fighter in Albuff village, Dory. Am I right? Titan was stunned. Could it be that my legend is still circulating in the sea? Gee, gee, gee. Zoro and Sanji looked at Luffy in disbelief. Don't tell me he is what you call a bounty criminal. Luffy looked at the two with a smile and nodded. Of course, the former captain of Gon Bing Pirates, Blue Ogre Dory. The bounty is 100 million shells. Zoro and Sanji went mad and yelled at Luffy, I'm blah. Is this something we can handle? Gee, gee, gee. Dory laughed loudly. Are you bounty hunters who are interested in my bounty? Luffy smiled and pointed to the cloak of justice behind him. No, we are marine. Dory was taken aback. After so many years, you marines can also get a commission. Luffy smiled and said to Dory. That's not the case, so the purpose of my coming this time is to subdue you too. Gee, gee, gee. Advertisement. Dory looked at Luffy's thin and small body with disdain. Although your strength is good, but using your little dog to subdue Albuff's strongest fighter is undoubtedly a dream come true. You know, in terms of size, Luffy is not even the size of Dory's finger. Luffy didn't refute and said with a smile. It's definitely impossible to rely on that kind of thing alone. I'm not counting on that kind of thing. How about we bet? Dory looked at Luffy strangely. What bet? If I win, one day I will return to Little Garden again, and you and Reggie go out to sea again, bringing the village of Albav to join me. Asking for flowers. Luffy said unhurriedly to Dory. You want to subdue our titans to join the marine. Dory frowned at Luffy. Luffy said meaningfully. Join marine. No, no, just rely on me. Luffy knows that world government has always had a good impression of world government through the big drama directed and acted by itself, especially the nun who was considered by Albuff to be his best friend. Now 5 elders don't think that Luffy has the ability to awaken Nika fruit, so naturally they won't take the risk of turning against Garp to kill Luffy. After all, Luffy joined Marine instead of pirate. If Luffy is a pirate and the world government kills Luffy, Garp can only help Luffy secretly in order to maintain the justice in his heart. But if Luffy is Marine, and the five elders dare to kill Luffy blatantly, Garp will definitely bring Marine back to the world government. After all, if he killed himself as Marine's grandson just because of a legend, this is absolutely not acceptable to Garp. After all, even when Ace died, Garp almost ran away to kill Akainu, and finally retired from Marine and no longer managed the front line. And it is precisely because of this that Luffy joins Marine with no fear. He is not Ohara's group of weak chickens who have no strength and no backing. The world government absolutely dare not do anything to itself. Because once he does it, he is sure to take a drastic drudgery and move the entire Marine away. After all, Garp's prestige is better than five elders in Marine. Wait until I find some time before going to Zephyr to brush up on his presence, and dug this teacher who is most of the naval headquarters officers into his hand. Then the entire Marine force itself is absolutely sure to let it directly separate from the world government. As for economics, are you kidding me? Do you really think that as a revolutionary army father, you eat dry food? What he did was revolution, not robbery. They have a huge mass base. If Marine can rebel, wouldn't they be in favor with both hands and feet? So as long as you don't awaken the rubber fruit, the world government will never dare to touch your Khanate. Even after awakening, there is a high probability that they will only send CP0 and those old shady men to trip him up and let him die in an accident. As for the Titan race, which is the most mysterious race that runs through the main line of the pirate world, Luffy naturally does not want to let it go. Dory and Brigitte, who were the strongest fighters in the original Al Buff, were the easiest entry. Chapter 100 Planetary Devastation. Horrible Ghetto Statue. Advertisement. The original plan that Luffy prepared before the immediate pain template was to use Mr. Three's plan to gain favorability just like the original book. After the strength becomes stronger, come to subdue the two titans. However, after Luffy randomly got the Nagato template, he immediately changed his plan. As the most powerful country in the world, the Titan has a warlike personality. For them, the strong are more worthy of respect than the wise. However, Dory and Brigitte have been fighting non-stop for 100 years, and both energy and weapons have been worn out, and their strength has dropped significantly. This is why Luffy has the confidence to challenge the two. Gee. Dory laughed when he heard what Luffy said, since you are so confident, let's have a fight. Luffy smiled slightly, and flew directly into the sky slowly, and soon reached the level with Dory's 263 line. Vivi below was frightened and froze, turned to Zoro and Sanji and hurriedly said, "You don't stop him. No matter how you look at it, it's impossible to win." "Why can't you win?" Zoro said in surprise. In Zoro's eyes, Luffy, who defeated Hawkeye, is absolutely heaven-defying as the world's #1 swordsman. And Sanji also nodded. "Anyway, I can't die, the worst is to lose." But at this moment, the volcano suddenly erupted with roars. Dory's plan to attack stopped. Wait a minute Marine, my promised battle has arrived. After I finish my appointment, let's fight together again. Dory laughed. Luffy smiled slightly after hearing this. "No need, I think Brigitte should be the same as you." "Like me." Dory was taken aback when he heard this. In the next second, a loud bang came from the other side of the island. And at the Mary, Nami and Usopp watched in tears as Six Paths Pen battled Titan Brigitte. "Where are you protecting us?" Nami looked at the 8-foot bird flying in the sky and wanted to cry, "This is courting death for us." Advertisement. Not long ago, Brigitte suddenly appeared next to the melee and asked Nami for a drink. They were so scared that they lay down on the boat and pretended to be dead. Who would have thought that Pen jumped out of the chameleon and said that he would tame Brigitte, and if he lost the bet, he would give Brigitte all the wine on the boat. As a result, the two immediately fought. The figures of Six Paths in the sky were all standing on top of the 8-foot bird. Shiradao took the lead, and suddenly stretched out countless weapon missiles from his body and shot towards Brigitte. The violent explosion sounded directly throughout Little Garden. That's exactly the bang that Dory and Luffy and others heard. Gee. Dory laughed loudly. "Are you going to start a war with both of us at the same time? I accept this bet. If you win, I am willing to be your subordinate." I saw Dory slashing towards Luffy fiercely with a long sword in his hand. The giant sword looks like a building to Luffy. The Zoro at this time is not the Zoro 2 years later. The Zoro 2 years later has no fear in the face of Sekka, who is several times bigger than Dory, and the 3,000 worlds are directly divided into two. At this time, Zoro and Sanji looked at Dory and both trembled a little. At this time, the strength of the two had not been out to sea for a long time, and even Zoro could not even reach the level of cutting iron. Facing the attack of this 22-meter-tall titan, Zoro even thought I dare not even think about it. But Luffy was not afraid of the attack at all, and he slapped his hands on the ground, summoning Geto statue. A wooden titan countless times more terrifying than Dory soars into the sky. Huge cloud of smoke rises from behind Luffy, 10 tails Geto statue. Dory, who was originally huge, was like a child in front of Geto statue. What is this? Dory looked at the huge wooden golem that suddenly appeared in confusion. As a titan, 22 meters is already extremely terrifying. The Geto statue in front of him has already competed with the former Oz the Island Demon. The gigantic Geto statue roared in the sky, and punched Dory directly. Dory hurriedly raised his long sword to block it. A bang, far exceeding the previous Asura Dao attack, spread throughout Little Garden. The mighty Dory felt the terror of being a titan for the first time. The whole person was directly smashed by the huge force of Gedo statue, creating a gap on the island. Unaware, Nami and Usopp looked at the towering Gedo statue and burst into tears. Woo, I want to go home, the Grand Line is too dangerous. Advertisement. Gi. Dory's face was full of excitement at this time, and he looked up at the Gedo statue, which was almost 70 meters away, full of excitement. The battle between Brigi and Six Paths Pain also stopped, and Brigi looked at the Gedo statue who suddenly appeared in astonishment, and he also looked confused. Tiandao Pain said slowly with the appearance of a magic stick, "We are the messengers of the gods, your companion, just like you, swore an oath with the gods, and then I will show you my true strength." I saw Pain put his palms together, and a small black ball suddenly appeared in the middle of his hands. Pain threw the black ball into the sky, and a terrifying suction suddenly spread from above the black ball. Planetary devastation. Pain roared, and countless rocks flew towards the sky. The mountain range formed by the huge Sea King's bone fossils instantly became fragments and flew towards the sky. Brigi looked at the sky in shock. Is this a black hole? Brigi floated towards the sky uncontrollably. And his figure was naturally seen by Dory. Brigi. Dory yelled in shock. Luffy smiled charmingly. Do you dare to be distracted when you fight with me? Gedo statue, who was nearly 100 meters away, punched down directly. The huge size also meant a huge gap in strength. Just like Little Oats and the Titan Vice Admirals, Dory flew out without any resistance. 4.4 What is even more frightening is that the 10 wooden thorns protruding from the Gedo statue's back flashed terrifying thunder. With a bang, the whole world was shrouded in dazzling thunder, and the roar made everyone's ears buzz. A pillar of thunder more than 10 meters high fell from the sky and directly struck Dory. Dory screamed and passed out. On the other side, Brigi is also struggling frantically in the sky, but he has no resistance to the first full-fledged anti-MI male trick in Hokage. Numerous stones tightly surrounded Brigi, and finally the dead seal was floating in the air in the earth ball. 07. Gedo statue declared his horror with a loud roar. Sanji, Zoro and others stared blankly at the huge Gedo statue and the stars appearing in the sky. This TM can be done by humans. Chapter 101 Titan Surrenders, The Horror of Code. Advertisement. Win. 1. Everyone looked at Dory who fell on the ground and Brigi who was sealed. Suddenly the 8-foot bird in the sky suddenly disappeared. Six Paths Pain fell towards the ground like a dumpling. The Gedo statue also turned into a pool of white mist with a bang, leaving only the ruins of the previous battle in Little Garden. Luffy. Zoro turned his head to look at Luffy in astonishment. However, he found that Luffy, who was originally in high spirits, was now shriveled, with gray hair, looking like an old man who was dying, and even his breath became faint. Luffy, what's wrong with you? Zoro and the others asked Luffy in shock. Luffy raised his right hand with difficulty, and stretched out his middle finger. Joe. The next second, the arm fell, and the whole person was silent again. Luffy. Zoro and the others screamed. It is obvious from this that Luffy is dead at this time. Suddenly, a golden seagull-shaped logo flashed on Luffy's chest, his whole body rapidly swelled and became rosy as if inflated, and his originally pale hair quickly turned black. Code 14. Always freeze the capable person at the peak moment. I boil. Luffy sat up abruptly with a growl. The three of Zoro, who had just brewed sadness, were so frightened that their eyeballs protruded in an instant. It's cheating again. Luffy rubbed his stiff arms and cursed. This FCK is too difficult to deal with, and it's still too difficult to summon Gedo statue and use planetary devastation to seal the Titan at the same time. As one of the three major pupil techniques, Rinnegan is known as the highest pupil power of the eye that controls life and death. It is the ultimate pupil technique that originated from the Otsutsuki family and the fruit of the sacred tree chakra. If there is no corresponding chakra and blood, it will consume a lot of vitality of the user. Advertisement. Although Luffy's body is strong, but at the same time summoning Gedo statue and sealing a large and strong man like the Titan race, the chakra consumed is particularly terrifying. After the battle, Luffy's vitality has been swallowed by Rinnegan, and this is the scene Zoro saw before. However, the last code rewarding God's power just made up for Rinnegan's defect of consuming vitality. Unlimited resurrections and stay in top shape. Let Luffy's strength at this time reach an extremely terrifying state. If Pain's own chakra hadn't been limited, Luffy felt that he could use all the functions of Uchiha Madara's Rinnegan, including Tengai Shinsei and Susanoo. It's a pity that Nagato's upper limit is limited after all, and the strength of this pair of Rinnegans cannot be fully exerted. Only the Nagato template's carpool and Luffy's vitality will not be able to exert the full strength of Rinnegans after all. Luffy shook his arms, feeling the energy in his body, and his face was full of excitement. It is indeed the most buggy skill in Lelouch's world, and there is simply no other skill that is more suitable for me, who uses life as fuel. Card Fruit Ability User. Heavenly Dao Pain flew up again, and with a wave of his hand, the planetary devastation shattered, and the scarred Brigi fell from the sky. On the other hand, Luffy directly cast a Rain Tiger free spell, and the pouring rain poured on Dory, and the Black Spirit screamed loudly. Luffy smiled and said to Dory, "How? I won the sacred bet. I remember that your village has a rule that the god of Alabasta will always protect the right side, which means that it is right for me to ask you to join me. Yes, do you have any questions?" Dory glanced at Luffy with a complex expression, and the glory of being a Titan warrior made him kneel in front of Luffy on one knee. "I, the captain of the giant pirates, is willing to submit to you." And Brigi on the other side did the same. Luffy nodded in satisfaction. Very good. Let's go. Go get these dinosaurs and prepare for the banquet. Gi. Dory laughed. Luffy directly used medical ninjutsu to cover Dory's body, and Dory's body quickly collapsed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Oh, formidable. Dory looked around his body excitedly. Soon Luffy and others returned to the vicinity of the melee with a few Brachiosaurus that they had beaten before. At this time, Reggie was sitting in an open space with Nami and Usopp to rest. Gigi. Advertisement. Dory looked at the embarrassed Reggie and laughed loudly. It seems that you lost too. Ka blah blah. Reggie laughed without showing any weakness. Isn't it better to see you in black? Dory also sat down on the ground, and the ground shook twice like an earthquake. We all lost. Dory sighed. Reggie also nodded. The person here is indeed too strong. Don't be so depressed. Luffy walked slowly with a smile. With a few huge Brachiosaurus he lifted up by gravity floating behind him. This is just an instruction from you Albaf God to resolve the fight. Your life is not worth it. It should be wasted on this kind of duel. Since you both lost, there is no need to continue to compete for a so-called loser. I think you two are already homesick, right? Dory and Reggie nodded. We will continue to exercise, and one day we will send you an honorable duel again. Luffy. Damn it, it seems that I have caused myself another trouble. Before, there was only one Eagle Eye, and now there are two more Titan War Kings. Luffy waved his hand. No problem, but I think you two will decide the winner before challenging me, and then the stronger one will fight me. Dory and BU 517 Rocky looked at each other, of course. The crowd immediately began to hold a celebratory banquet. And in a certain corner of the forest, Mr. 5 and Valentine came to a white wax house in fear. Hey, isn't this MR5? Mr. 3 with the letter 3 hairstyle on his head was drinking black tea leisurely. You have such a convenient ability that you actually built a house in the forest. Mr. 5 looked at the leisurely M3 and said with some displeasure, but as I said before, we will not participate in this mission. He thought of the Gundam that Luffy drove before and the terrifying fighting power of the two Titans just now. Both of them suddenly panicked. HMPH. Mr. 3 looked at the two with contempt. You two are too weak, Mr. 5 Valentine. The faces of Mr. 5 and Valentine became extremely ugly. Mr. 3 took out an old bounty order. Thanks to you, I found out that these two Titans are the captain of the giant pirates, Blue Ogre Dory and Red Ghost Reggie. Excellent criminals commit crimes with excellent brains. No matter how high the mountain is, as long as they use more brains, they can be leveled. Mr. 3 took a sip of black tea leisurely. You all just watch how I destroy this group of trash and get a reward of 200 million. Chapter 102 You don't know anything about strength. Advertisement. Gigi. Baba. It's been a long time since I've had wine. Thank you for sending such delicious wine, it's just a little less. Zoro watched speechlessly as Dory picked up a barrel of rum and threw it directly into his mouth like he was holding a bonbon. It's strange that there are so many. Mr. Dory, how long will it take to record the magnetic force of this island? Nami asked, frowning and looking at the record pointer in his hand. Gigi. Soon. It only takes 1 year to record it. Dory laughed and swallowed a mouthful of dinosaur meat, not seeing Nami and Vivi who were instantly petrified. Nani. 1 year. Vivi screamed loudly. Nami ran up to Luffy and shook Luffy's collar crazily. Why? Why did we take this route? We're going to live in the barren mountains for a year, woohoo. Luffy quickly comforted. Don't we still have the record pointer given by Robin? That's right, as soon as Nami and Vivi clapped their hands, a light flashed in their heads. Huh, didn't you say she might be a bad person? I threw it away. Zoro looked at everyone strangely and said. Boom. Idiot. Nami punched Zoro on the top of the head. At this time, Vivi's face was hard to see. Ultimate. Sanji beat Zoro's head with his leg and said, Hey. Apologize to Miss Vivi. Whispering, You guys. Zoro frantically pulled away the harassing people. Didn't you all object when Luffy died? Damn, we didn't see you destroy the record pointer, okay. And at this moment, white mist in the shape of snowflakes began to fall in the sky. Luffy touched his chin. The record pointer is here. Huh, he looked at Luffy strangely, not knowing what he meant. At this moment, Tiandao Pain suddenly appeared in midair. How many floors do you have to carry a bag of rice? You have to carry a bag of rice to the second floor. A bag of rice has to be washed so muddy, I have to dry a bag of rice. What is he saying? Advertisement. Don't know. Feel the pain. Spicy Tiansen. Boom. Centering on the melee, all the trees, rivers, animals, plants, and grass were blown away like a hurricane. Ah, Vivi and Nami hold Luffy's arms to keep from being blown away. Not far away, two weak figures accompanied by a few huge candles were blown to pieces by the hurricane. Nani, what is this? Mr. 3 was blown away in horror. The Golden Week is even more dyed by its own paint. What is this doing? Nami growled at Luffy with a long breath. The rest of the people also looked at Luffy strangely. They all knew that pain in the sky was summoned by Luffy. Luffy stood up slowly, and took the lead to walk towards a smear of white in the dirt. Tisk tisk, as expected of demon fruit power, this range of skills really can't hurt you. Everyone looked at the direction Luffy looked in strangely, and finally saw a snow-white square room at the end. What is that? Everyone was stunned when they saw the room. A door opened from the room, and MR3 fell out of the room in a panic. Damn it, who the hell is this person? How can he be so strong? Mr. 3 looked at the expressionless pain in the sky with some horror. Bang bang. The sound of Luffy applauding came. As expected, the senior agents of the Bar Lock Work Agency are indeed much stronger than those little gangsters. Bar Lock Work Agency. Everyone looked at MR3 in unison. At this time, Golden Week quietly poked its head out of the candle house, and when it saw Luffy and the others, it immediately shrank back in fright. It just so happens that we lack a record pointer. I think you should have it. Luffy looked at MR3 with a smile and said. Mr. 3 stood up abruptly. Don't underestimate the senior agents of our Bar Lock Work Agency. Mr. 3's arm suddenly turned into candle oil and bound towards Luffy and others. Candle, what a pity, it seems that you are afraid of fire, right? Advertisement. Luffy smiled at the oncoming candle. Tiandao Pain appeared in front of everyone in an instant. Grandmaster's 6-attribute chakra ninjutsu directly spews out terrifying flames. Nani, are you the fire fist ace of Mera Mera fruit? Mr. 3 looked at the flame-breathing Pain in shock. In his impression, only Mera Mera fruit had the ability to cause such a terrifying attack. You can think so. Luffy walked slowly in front of MR3. M3 looked close at hand and suddenly smiled. You are careless, my candle is comparable to steel. Mr. 3 laughed and looked at Luffy with a saw made of candles. Quote. Tilde operator steel. Luffy smiled slightly. Super Shinra may only target the range, but at such a close distance. Luffy stretched out his arms slowly. Shenra Tianjung. Mr. 3 suddenly felt a death threat attacking him. In the next second, the steel cage he made was instantly shattered into pieces. Zoro from behind shouted a reminder to Luffy. Mr. 3 looked at Luffy in bewilderment. Mr. 3 stood up and knelt down without hesitation. Luffy, watch out. It's too weak. Devil Fruit's ability is weaker than yours, and the two cards are almost as weak as you. If Luffy is to develop, whether it is the flame of the candle, or softening deformation, and hardening are all good development directions. Countless fragments smashed hard on MR3's body, and MR3 was immediately bloodied by his own candle. Zoro and others looked at MR3 with contempt. Of Li Zhao's, is it so easy to admit defeat? Luffy shook his head and sighed. M3. Kai. What? As a devil fruit that is similar to fluid, Kaji has developed a waxy fruit to be comparable to Logia, but the candleman in front of him can only harden and soften the candle made from the fruit. You don't know anything about strength. Luffy squatted beside Mr. 3 without turning his head. Didn't your boss tell you what observation haki is? Oh, yes, I almost forgot. Who is your boss? Do not know at all. Suddenly, several sharp wax arrows appeared from Luffy's side, shooting straight at Luffy's heart. Don't kill me. If you kill me, you won't be able to find the record pointer. However, Luffy smiled slightly, and slowly stretched out his right hand to give a middle finger to a ruin. In the next second, he saw MR5 and Valentine's eyes glowing red, and they ran out from behind the ruins with surprise on their faces, and shouted excitedly, Boss. Chapter 103 Instant Kill. Subdue lowly. Advertisement. Boss, are you the boss? Mr. 3 looked at Luffy in disbelief. Who knows, it's a secret. Luffy stared at MR3 indifferently, quickly sealed with both hands, fire-style flame bomb. With a bang, Mr. 3 was directly melted by the flames in desperation. Mr. 5 and Valentine trembled in fright, and the Golden Week, which had poked its head out again, closed the candle door dozens of times. Boss, what is this? Mr. 5 said with a look of hesitation. He betrayed the organization and dared to attack me as MR0, shouldn't he be killed? Mr. 5 nodded repeatedly upon hearing the words. The two of you head to Alabasta immediately, and there will be a meeting of senior agents in the near future, and you will follow me to see how many people have betrayed me. Yes, Your Highness. The two responded in unison, then turned their heads and walked towards the distance. Hey, Luffy, where's our log pointer? Zoro reminded in a low voice. Luffy pouted, motioning everyone to look at the wax house. Luffy yelled viciously at the Golden Week inside. Did you come out by yourself or I burn the house down? 793. There was a clanging sound inside, and a shivering loli with braids came out of the candle house. Why is there a child? Seeing this, everyone was puzzled. Luffy said with a smile. This is not a simple child, right, Miss Golden Week? Hearing the words of Golden Week, he was quite frightened, tears flowed from his eyes. Nami behind him tapped Luffy. Don't scare the kids. Luffy looked at the motherly Nami speechlessly. This guy is 16 years old anyway. In the original book, Golden Week didn't want to join the Bar Lock Work Club. After the Alabasta incident, she directly used her ability to transform everyone into her ideal appearance, and lived together in the Spider Bar. Worked as a painter at the Spider Bar. So Luffy didn't kill her completely. After all, although her ability to mix colors is just a kind of hypnosis with psychological hints, the effect is called a bug. Even Luffy, who has the potential of Conqueror's Haki, was put to sleep by her and couldn't move. The point is that this guy hasn't passed Devil Fruit yet, it can only be said that she, Beb, is a real hypnosis master. Is this guy a senior member of Bar Lock's agency? Usopp looked at the seemingly harmless Golden Week with a look of disbelief. By the way, what ability do you have? Advertisement. I saw that Golden Week took out his own palette, painted on the palette with paint for a while, and then took out the brush and flicked it, and the yellow paint suddenly fell on Usopp. Combination of colors, hilarious yellow. What did you do? Usopp looked at the paint on his chest with a puzzled look at first. Immediately laughed involuntarily. What are you laughing at, Usopp? Everyone looked at Usopp suspiciously. I don't know what I'm laughing at, but it's just so funny, ha 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 ha. Usopp panted while laughing. No way, I'm dying of laughter. Ha ha ha. With a snap, Usopp fainted from laughter. Oh, it's amazing. Everyone looked at the smiling Usopp and praised. Usopp got up madly and roared. Do you have any conscience? Use me as an experiment. Golden Week once again applied the blue paint on top of the original yellow paint on the mixing board, and the paint on Usopp immediately turned green. The blue of sadness and the yellow of hilarity become the green of leisure. With the Golden Week, the voice just fell. Usopp, who was originally angry, suddenly sat down and drank tea with a satisfied face. Ah, what a good tea. Wahaha. Everyone laughed when they saw Usopp's embarrassment. Usopp's face was full of madness, but his body was sitting firmly on the ground, drinking tea leisurely. Tea. Really good. Drink it. Ah, Usopp said through gritted teeth. The crowd laughed and wiped the paint off Usopp. Hey, you guys. Do you have any sympathy? Returning to his senses, Usopp roared at the crowd. The banquet ended with loud laughter from everyone. With the record pointers carried during the Golden Week, everyone packed their bags and continued to set off from Little Garden. Above the estuary, Dory and Reggie waved loudly to Luffy on the shore. We are waiting for your news. Luffy gave a thumbs up. It won't be long. Remember to take me to your Albuff. I also want to see the legendary world-recognized strongest country. Advertisement. Sure. Gigigi. Ka ba ba ba. Everyone waved at Dory and Reggie in unison. Suddenly, Luffy slapped Nami's A. Nami screamed and punched Luffy directly. Damn it. Luffy spread out his palms innocently. There are mosquitoes. Looking at the mosquito in Luffy's hand, Nami blushed and walked into the cabin angrily. Sanji's eyes were red with jealousy. Damn mosquito, why didn't I notice it? Zoro. Are you an idiot? Suddenly, a goldfish comparable to an island suddenly appeared in the sea. Momentum and Reggie on the shore were chatting with each other. My friend's ship is about to set sail. With a loud snap, the melee sank into the mouth of the island eater. I boil. The boss I just recognized is going to die. Everyone. Luffy, your uncle. Ah, Dory, Reggie. Dory, Reggie. A big hole was cut directly above the stomach of the island eater, and the melee was held in the hands of Geto statue. I think so too. With Luffy's strength, it must be a piece of cake, right? Suddenly on the sea, Geto statue rose with blood. Gone. Reggie. Looks like they got eaten. Nami and Vivi rolled their eyes and collapsed in Luffy's arms. Reggie. The goldfish are sinking. Dory. Dory. Don't make trouble, Luffy must be planning a big move. Luffy yelled, and saw Geto statue throwing a shot put. Meili Chuan was like a small piece of cloth, and went out in the direction of the record pointer. Ah, there is a monster in the sea to the west. Boss is so brave. Chapter 104. The Coolie Smoker. Advertisement. Idiot, look at where we are now. Nami waved the desperation on Luffy's face. At this time, the outside of the ship was covered with snow. 2604, 2605. Zoro is waving a huge barbell and is desperately pushing the iron. Sanji passed by with a look of disgust. Aren't you cold? It's snowing now. Just before Little Garden started, Luffy directly borrowed Geto statue for a super long-range throw. Although the Mary landed safely with the help of Rinnegan's gravity, it was obvious that everyone had deviated from the original route. Vivi looked sadly at the newspaper of the previous day, which showed that not long ago in Alabasta, the 300,000 royal army had defected into the revolutionary army. Has the situation gotten this serious? Vivi clenched her fists tightly, and her lips were almost bleeding out from her bite. Luffy stretched out his head from Nami's confinement. Don't worry, I've already used the phone bug to contact the reinforcements to help. Nani, really? Vivi raised her head in surprise and asked. Certainly. Luffy nodded. We are marine, there are still many ways. Time went back to a few hours ago. Ah, why should I obey your orders? Smoker, who was smoking a cigar, stared angrily at the phone bug in the shape of a straw hat in his hand. Don't get excited, came Luffy's beating voice from the other side, it's just for you to temporarily maintain the Alabasta conflict. That is a kingdom joined by the world government, a country established by 20 royal families according to legend. How could it be so easy to intervene in civil strife? Smoker growled frantically at Luffy. Hey, this is really a great achievement. 7 warlords of the sea, Lockdoll used the name of Shichibukai to steal the country and set off civil strife. If this is exposed by the people of Alabasta, what a scandal it will be. So hurry up, while Lockdoll's plan is still going on. After speaking, Luffy hung up the phone. Hello, B********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** Vivi came in from outside the ship with a look of surprise. What's the matter? Colonel Smoker. Damn straw hat Luffy, he knows how to order people. Advertisement. Smoker cursed and took a puff of cigarette. 7 warlords of the sea. K-Lock Doll. This is a good opponent. Go. Head ahead to Alabasta. Smoker waved his hand. Tashigi, who was in a daze when he heard Luffy's name, let out an ah, and hurried out to order. Time goes back to the present, on the melee. Do you think people can stand on the sea? Zoro put down the binoculars and looked at a small field on the sea with a strange expression on his face. Impossible, are you hallucinating? Usopp retorted, and then he looked straight ahead of the Mary. A clown carrying a longbow appeared in front of his eyes. Usopp. Usopp wiped his eyes. Am I dazzled? Ah, I found it. Luffy touched his chin and said. What kind of strange thing is this? Nami suddenly wanted to cry but had no tears. Suddenly there was a huge wave on the sea, and a huge ball wrapped in steel fell from the sky. What is this? Zoro looked at the iron ball suddenly floating on the sea in surprise, with a dazed expression on his face. I saw the iron ball spread out like a lotus flower, a hippopotamus bow slowly rose, and a huge iron boat appeared in front of everyone. Is this a ship? Everyone looked strangely at the huge pirate group that suddenly appeared, and 10 pirate flags slowly rose from the mast. Yes, it's a pirate ship. Usopp stammered as he looked at the pirate flag on the ship. Countless soldiers in padded jackets stood densely on the pirate ship. There was a burst of laughter. Ahahaha, surprised by the Iron Lord, by this large diving galleon. It's so noisy, Lu said, digging his ears. Wapol, the king of the former Magnetic Drum Kingdom, abandoned his countrymen after being attacked by Blackbeard and fled to the sea to become a pirate, the captain of the White Iron Pirates. Get on me, I'm going to eat this whole ship. Advertisement. With a big wave of Wapol's hand, Hippo's bow went directly down a ladder, and countless pirates came out from the White Iron King and came to kill the Mary. It's really rare for someone to take the initiative to rob Marine. Zoro pulled Onitsu and Yuki out of his hand. Sanji lit a cigarette and looked at the many little Carla Rice calmly. Luffy put on the cloak of justice that belonged to Marine. It's a pity that there is no bounty, otherwise I can exchange some money. Asking for flowers. Vivi frowned looking at Wapol, she always felt like she had seen this guy somewhere. Master Wapol, the opposite seems to be Marine. Jess the clown looked at Luffy's justice cloak and whispered. What's the matter with Marine? We are pirates now, we don't even have a warship, maybe it's just a little guy somewhere. Wapol waved impatiently, I'm hungry. Hurry up and take them down, I'm going to eat. The soldiers who originally belonged to the Magnetic Drum Kingdom responded and killed Luffy and the others. Because he knew that once a pirate was let go, an unknown number of people would die. 3 arrows shoot at Luffy from 3 directions. 0. A large number of soldiers fell under Zoro's hands. Unlike in the original book, everything is left to die. Under the leadership of Luffy, Zoro will not show mercy to the pirates. CM me on the sitting one. The battle at this time has entered a fierce stage, and the battle is more like a one-sided massacre than it is. Soon the soldiers of the White Iron Pirates fled frantically like flies being chased, and they didn't have the courage to continue fighting with Zoro and others. In the original book, every time Luffy beats his opponent, he will let the opponent die, which has caused many bad guys to make a comeback, and there is no sign of being influenced. Zoro and Sanji grinned, and the two made their way through the crowd. Luffy sneered, didn't even bother to raise his hands. Shenluo Tianjung immediately flicked the 3 arrows away. In troubled times, Luffy, who is a marine, has never shown any mercy to these pirates who make a living by robbing the innocent and weak. As the sharpshooter of the Drum Kingdom, Jess the Clown directly drew his bow and arrow and shot towards Luffy. Nami, who has been ruled by Arlong for 8 years, has a deep hatred for pirates and will never have the slightest resistance. Luffy directly found a recliner and sat down and said lightly, kill them, don't keep your hands. Wapol angrily stood up and bit Sanji with a big mouth. Therefore, Wong Luffy has never been merciful to this group of pirates. He also met many small pirate groups along the way, and all of them were killed by Luffy and others. Usopp hid in the corner behind the door and told you to turn the gunpowder star off the backs of the gang. Wapol looked at the faces of his subordinates who were gradually exhausted, and pointed at Luffy who was sitting on the recliner and shouted. Chapter 105 Marine is the Justice. Advertisement. I'm boiling. What the hell? Sanji screamed and dodged to the side. A chunk of the Iron King's deck had been gnawed off. Wapol chewed twice and swallowed with a mouth as big as his whole body. What the hell is this? You actually ate the tin sheet. Zoro and the others looked at Wapol in bewilderment. And the clown Jess on the side explained loudly. That's for sure, our Master Wapol is a tuntun who eats munch fruit. Everything can be crushed and swallowed by Master Wapol's teeth. Zoro frowned. Demon fruit power. I saw Zoro holding 2 knives behind his back, Sandao Lu tiger hunting. Zoro flashed, and Wapol's chest was instantly left with a gap like a tiger's stripes. Ah, it hurts, it hurts. Wapol was rolling back and forth in pain. Zoro, 017, looked at his knife with a confused face. Is this demon fruit power? Is this weak to death? Chromaliman with an afro yells, Dr. 20. Doc 20 come on. Immediately, a group of doctors in pink protective suits with their arms raised appeared behind Chromariman. Go and heal Master Wapol, cried Chromariman. I saw 20 doctors walking towards the tumbling Wapol holding various medical instruments. What? Zoro looked at the group of people who suddenly appeared in confusion. Suddenly a wind blade cut across, and a huge gap suddenly appeared in front of many doctors. Are you mentally retarded or do you treat us as mentally retarded? Are you doing surgery in front of us? Don't we want to lose face? Luffy yawned and spoke to the terrified Dr. 20. Chromariman looked at Luffy in a bewildered look, it's unscientific, why don't you play cards according to the routine? Shouldn't we cure Mrs. Wapol with a show, and then brag about the top 20 doctors selected by this medical power? You dare to move, the next time the wind blade will cut your head. Luffy said lightly to the 20 doctors. The doctors trembled in fright and backed away repeatedly shaking their heads. Looking at the defectors from the former Magnetic Drum Kingdom running around, Luffy directly reached out and patted the ground, summoning technique. Advertisement. 6 paths pane appeared in front of Luffy with different postures. Congratulations, you have been successfully arrested, if you dare to resist. Luffy said lightly, only to see Shirado's head split open to reveal the laser emitter in the middle. With a flash of blue light, a big hole appeared in Wapple's head, and his struggling body stopped moving. The guy who would make a comeback in the future and build the Dark Drum Kingdom was right on the spot. A kind of little gangsters knelt on the ground trembling for an instant and did not resist. At this time, Nami excitedly stepped forward and asked Chromariman, does any of you have a bounty? Seeing this, Chromariman shook his head repeatedly. No, we are all good citizens, and we were forced to become pirates by that cruel Wapple. We were originally the army of the Magnetic Drum Kingdom, and we met the Blackbeard pirates. Only the regiment's attack will run out. Nami frowned when she heard this. You left the people and ran away. You must know that Vivi risked his life to undercover the Pakistani Lock Work Agency for the sake of the people. Compared with him, Wapple is simply a scumbag. Chromariman blushed suddenly and dared not speak. What about this group of people? Zoro asked Luffy as he looked at the soldiers who had been captured. It just so happens that the Drum Kingdom is not far away, and it's a good choice to throw them to those abandoned citizens. Luffy said with a smile. And this is an excuse to go to the Drum Kingdom to get the chopper who ate the fruit of everyone and the common people on the ship. That's the only way to go. After all, it's impossible to go with the burden of this boat. Zoro nodded. Then Luffy asked the group of people to follow him in the Iron King. And Luffy observation hockey was in full bloom, and finally arrived at the legendary Sakura Flower Kingdom without Sakura flowers after half a day. Stop, who are you? As soon as the melee sailed into the port, a circle of militiamen with guns surrounded Luffy and others. Don't get excited. Luffy smiled and stood up, pointing to the cloak of justice behind him and said, we are Marine. Naval Headquarters Commodore Monkey D. Luffy. The surrounding militiamen looked happy. It turns out that Marine is here to help us catch those pirates. That's right, Luffy nodded as a matter of course, and we also caught a group of pirates that you were interested in along the way. Pirates. Everyone was taken aback. How could we be interested in pirates? Not long ago, they were attacked by the Blackbeard pirates, and several villages were reduced to ruins. As soon as Luffy waved, Usopp shot a buckshot directly at the clown Jess standing on the sea. Advertisement. Immediately, the clown knocked, and the huge White Iron King rose from the sea. This is. The villagers looked angrily at the rising White Iron King, Wapple's ship. They still can't forget the day when Wapple led the soldiers of the kingdom and abandoned the villagers and fled alone. How dare you come back? Get off this island. Many villagers roared angrily. Luffy reached out his hand to signal the villagers to calm down. Don't worry, this is the pirate group we picked up on the road. I think you must be interested in them, so I brought them here for you. Pirates. Wapple was caught as a pirate. Many villagers looked at Luffy in bewilderment. With a wave of Luffy's hand, Wapple's body thrown into the water appeared in front of the villagers. Really, Wapple? Wapple is dead. Okay. The villagers cheered loudly. Sanji looked at Jess, who was tied up in surprise, and asked, Wapple isn't the original king of you. Why is it so miserable? The clown smiled awkwardly, not knowing how to answer. Soon the villagers escorted the members of White Iron Pirates 3.5 ashore. All thanks to Luffy et al. Luffy smiled slightly. This is the normal state of the pirate world. Marine is always just at sea. That is to say, Luffy slapped the bug that bit Nami to death, otherwise there would be no need to kneel like Luffy when he was a pirate to enter the island. The crowd followed the militiamen towards the island. Everyone had happy smiles on their faces. Hey, Luffy, shouldn't we keep going to Alabasta? Nami asked in bewilderment. We are short of a ship doctor on board, and this island happens to be the Drum Kingdom, a legendary medical power, so let's find a doctor by the way. Luffy explained to Nami. Don't worry, I probably have someone to choose, and it will be done soon. Chapter 106 Unexpected Enemy. Advertisement. Ah, the bear is pretending to be dead. Usopp looked at the great Pyrene bear who came out of the snow not far away and held a trekking pole and lay down in the snow with a loud cry. Dalton, the captain of the guard, explained, this is a hiking bear. It is harmless. Just salute when you go up the mountain. Speaking of which, Dalton nodded towards the big white bear. Great Pyrenees also saluted in a very humane way. Everyone came to the village of Bighorn, and the goats and hippos with long hair were walking around on the road. Everyone has worked hard, except for the guards and escorts, everyone else should go to rest. Dalton shouted to the militiamen. No problem, Mr. Dalton, shouldn't we have a welcome party for the Marines? Luffy smiled and waved his hands. Don't bother, we're just passing by temporarily and we'll leave soon. That's it. That's a real pity. Then everyone bid farewell to Luffy and others, and Dalton pointed to the chimney-like mountains in the middle and said, the 14 mountains in the distance are called Magnetic Drum Peaks, and the witch you are looking for lives on the top of the highest mountain. Really? Thanks a lot. Let's go visit now. Luffy nodded with a smile. Hey, Zoro, Sanji, let's go together. It's just like a competition to see who gets to that mountain first. Zoro was excited when he heard the words, I must be the first. Sanji took a puff of smoke in disdain. I have never lost anyone in my legs. Nami, you stay here in Dalton with Vivi and Golden Week. We'll be back soon. Usopp, the safety of both of them is in your hands. Luffy turned to Nami and the others. Hearing this, Usopp puffed up his chest. Of course. I am a brave man at sea. Leave it to me. Then let's begin, Luffy suddenly said. Ren arrives. With a whoosh, Luffy flew towards the magnetic drum peak. Ah, you are cheating, Zoro and Sanji yelled and hurriedly followed. Nami and others looked at the childish three people speechlessly. Are you children? Advertisement. At this time, Luffy gave up the ability to use templates and turned to exercise his own strength. Luffy has been practicing with Zoro and Sanji since he got the 6-style training method from Garp. To put it bluntly, the 6 forms is to maximize speed and strength through strong physical fitness. The physical fitness of Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji is absolutely monster level. In the past, everyone didn't know the power-generating skills of the 6 forms, and every time they moved, they relied on pure power to explode. Now with the addition of Marine 6 styles, the strength of the few people has made great progress compared with the original. Especially the rubber properties of the Luffy Nika fruit, it is a breeze for shaved and moonwalks that rely on quick ground to increase speed. Moreover, the rubber body itself is much lighter than the normal body. With the use of paper arts, Luffy can better fit observation hockey, which is far beyond the body. At this time, Luffy is like a high-frequency motor vibrating on the snow like a ghost in an instant. Wherever it passed, the snow was stepped out of huge deep pits. This is the impact force generated after stepping on the ground at high speed. The second gear, which originally acts on the internal pressure, is used on the 6-style shaving, producing extremely terrifying special effects. This monster. Zoro and Sanji looked at Luffy, who was already running out of sight and the corners of his mouth twitched. Whoosh, swish. Sanji kicked a snow rabbit rabang flying. Damn it, it's been jumping around us since just now, what the hell is this? But is Luffy's way of moving really good? We're on a snowy mountain. Zoro frowned and looked at the towering snow slope ahead. It won't cause an avalanche or something. Rumbling. Sanji, you crow mouth. I saw the figure of Luffy in front of me soaring into the air, stepping on the moonwalk and directly soaring into the air. Zoro, there's an avalanche, run. Luffy's voice came from heaven. Zoro, Sanji, 1 convex. Advertisement. The two frantically turned their heads and ran diagonally upwards. However, it was raining when the house leaked, and the Rabang who was kicked away by Sanji led a large group of huge Rabang to appear in front of the two of them and stare at everyone. Damn it, go away, you stupid rabbits. Zoro directly drew out 3 knives and put them in a good pose, 3 swords tornado. Immediately, a violent whirlwind suddenly blew up with Zoro as the center. Countless Labangs were rolled up everywhere. Suddenly Sanji kicked Zoro on the head. It hurts. What are you doing? The pirates behind them smiled cruelly and pointed their guns at Kurha and Chopper. And in the palace, Kurha and Chopper were frowning at a group of mysterious psychopaths in cloaks. Chopper was furious when he saw this, and directly turned into a human form, facing Hawkins and others with a fierce face. Nani. Zoro turned his head and looked forward, and it turned out that a much bigger avalanche than that caused by Luffy appeared in front of him. Hawkins, with long blonde hair and expressionless eyes, counted the tarot cards. Damn it, how did this happen? By the way, why is the weather so cold? My hands and feet are a little numb. Zoro immediately turned around and fled in another direction. Sanji looked at Zoro, who was still wearing short sleeves, and said speechlessly, "Are you an idiot? I came here following the trajectory of fate, waiting for the uninvited guest who does not belong to fate. Idiot, you made the avalanche even bigger. Are you here to see a doctor?" Kurha had just healed the little boy from the outside and returned to the castle when he saw a group of uninvited guests in the hall. At this time, Luffy laughed and walked directly on the moonwalk towards the palace on the top of the mountain. If Luffy knew what Zoro was thinking, he would definitely call him an idiot. Have you ever been afraid of the cold after seeing the sun god? Sanji roared, pointing at the larger avalanche ahead. Seeing this, the pirates took 2 steps back in fright. Hawkins calmly took out a card and looked at it. My chance of losing this time is 0%. While speaking, the long knife in Hawkins' hand turned into a straw and stabbed straight at Kuleha. HMPH, I'm just a shallow person. As long as I can be like Shisui, fire can be as cool as a breeze, and ice can be as warm as a spring sun. You can see that Luffy can't help but wear a tank top and shorts. Don't you feel cold? Zoro pointed to the figure of Luffy stepping on moonwalk and said. Chapter 107 Crush the Hawkins Pirates. Advertisement. In front of Magnetic Drum Peak, a roar spread across the entire island. Luffy, who was climbing leisurely, frowned. He suddenly looked up into the sky, and his dark eyes instantly turned into Rinnegan. The whole person was thrown out like a bullet. In the blink of an eye, Luffy has come from the mountainside to the top of the mountain. Luffy looked at the huge scarecrow in his field of vision in astonishment. Hawkins. Luffy clearly remembered that he and himself were not on the same route at all. At this time, what Hawkins is confronting is the final form of Chopper's rampage after swallowing the 3-color pill. At this time, Chopper couldn't control his consciousness at all, waving his arms like a monster. And behind him was Dr. Kuleha, who was lying in a pool of blood. Is this a butterfly effect? Luffy frowned and looked at the scene in front of him. At this time, Hawkins had transformed into a scarecrow, his fingers turned into pitch-black spikes, and with a wave of his hand, Chopper's body was scratched with bone-deep wounds. Straw knife. A wriggling straw sword appeared in Hawkins' hand, bending like a wave and piercing Chopper's heart. Chopper, who was about to lose consciousness, was about to be killed by him. Fire-style dragon fire technique. A fire dragon appeared and directly burned Hawkins' grass sword. Who? Hawkins suddenly turned his head and saw Luffy floating in the air wearing the cloak of justice. You are quite courageous, you dare to touch the ship doctor I ordered. Luffy stared at Hawkins coldly and said, Marine supernova, Monkey D. Luffy. There was no slight fluctuation on Hawkins' face, as if he knew that Luffy would appear here a long time ago. Sure enough, fate is absolute, and you, a guy who is beyond fate, cannot avoid being entangled by fate. Hawkins read like a magic stick. The younger brothers around looked at their captain enthusiastically as if they were looking at the messenger of God. Advertisement. Luffy glanced at Chopper and Kurha in his hand. Slowly falling to the ground. Summoning technique. Six Paths Pain reappeared. Tianhu Pain came in front of Chopper, and directly manipulated the repulsive force to press the gigantic Chopper severely to the ground. Be sober, your doctor is still waiting for you to save her. Tianhu Pain looked at the struggling and roaring Chopper lightly and said. The animal way directly summoned the hell dog, centipede, rhinoceros, and bullfighting. Shiradawa split his body, countless invincible missiles swept towards Hawking like a rain of pirates. What's this? Hide. Bomb. What a terrifying firepower. Immediately, the Hawkins pirates suffered heavy casualties. Luffy raised his eyebrows and asked Hawkins, didn't your fruit tell you to run when you meet me? Hawkins had a serious expression on his face. You, a person beyond your destiny, shouldn't exist in this world. Luffy was taken aback when he heard the words, then looked at Hawkins and smiled. Poor idiot, it seems that your devil fruit can only divination people and things in this world, but you are right, I am indeed not in destiny. Yes, I will eventually override fate. Luffy sneered, and Six Paths Pain directly perched on top. Tianhu directly summoned a black stick and shot it out. With the acceleration of Shenluo Tianzhong, the black stick stabbed Hawkins' body instantly. Hawkins looked at Luffy calmly. It's useless, I'm immortal. A little scarecrow was thrown out of Hawkins. The scarecrow stand-in can take the fatal blow instead of Hawkins and transfer the damage. At the same time, a man next to him suddenly had a blood hole in his heart and fell to the ground. Luffy looked at Hawkins with a sneer. I see how many doubles you have for you to die. Shiradawa stretched out his arm and pointed at Hawkins, and in his astonished eyes, Shiradawa's fist shot out and hit Hawkins. Strange wrist rocket, a ninjutsu that fires a severed wrist as a weapon. Concentrate chakra on the incision, and the arm, which is propelled by the small-scale explosion generated, flies out in a straight line with a strong impact. The destructive force produced by it is easy to break even a thicker rock plate, and the wrist protected by chakra is intact. The chakra with the incision is like a magnet attracting the wrist and can be reinstalled. Hawkins dodged sideways, and punched a huge hole in the castle behind him with his fist. Advertisement. In the next second, the fist was automatically retracted into Shiradawa's hands. Is it really a robot? Hawkins frowned, but it doesn't look like it at all. Shiradawa didn't like to pause, separated his wrist from his arm, pulled out a string of missiles from the incision in his arm, and flew towards the sky. A series of explosions directly swept the Hawkins pirates. Hawkins' face was even more ugly. He didn't expect that Luffy, who was acting like a joke in the live broadcast, would be surrounded by so many powerful helpers. Seeing Shiradawa rushing towards him, Hawkins could no longer retain his strength. He raised the straw knife, and a stack of tarot cards floated in the air to choose one. Scarecrow card. As Hawkins shouted loudly, the grass knife in his hand suddenly expanded, and soon turned into a huge scarecrow puppet in the air. Luffy frowned. Have you developed your fruit ability to this extent now? No, rather than development, it's better to say that the fruit controlled you, a capable person, pathetic fellow. Luffy looked at Hawkins sympathetically. But Hawkins was unmoved at all, and saw him draw a card from a stack of cards, with a happy expression on his face. Sure enough, fate favored me. Hawkins turned the card over, and there was a square sword on the card. Sword 1 upright. There was a flash of purple light on the card, and a giant sword appeared directly in the scarecrow's hand. With a fierce, well done, swing from Hawkins, the huge sword directly slashed towards Shiradawa. Shiradawa crossed his arms and faced the huge sword, but unfortunately, it was just a puppet made of a puppet master's corpse, but it couldn't stop the power of the straw fruit, and was smashed into pieces by the sword. Hawkins showed a smile on his face when he saw this. You can't escape the fate of fate, except the fate of death, Monkey D. Luffy. While speaking, the scarecrow's giant sword directly slashed at Luffy, and at this moment, the evil Kido appeared in front of Luffy. He stretched out his arm, and the long sword transformed from Devil Fruit's ability was directly absorbed by Hungry Kido. Nani? Hawkins looked at the scene in front of him in disbelief. Tianhu looked at Hawkins' scarecrow with a sneer, stretched out his arms and said calmly, Shenluo Tianzhong. Boom. A bang. In Hawkins' stunned eyes, the huge figure of the scarecrow was directly smashed to pieces and executed on the spot. Chapter 108 Soul Extraction. Kill Hawkins. Advertisement. Shenluo Tianzhong is an invincible skill in the early stage of Hokage. It was only when Naruto exploded the power of 8 tails that he barely broke the repulsive force of Shenluo Tianzhong. At this time, the scarecrow on Hawkins was directly smashed into pieces. What Luffy didn't expect was that the skill of absorbing chakra ninjutsu as a Hungry Kido was also effective for Devil Fruit's ability. I just don't know if it has any effect on Haki. If even Haki can be absorbed, then Luffy's defense at this time is basically invincible. Hawkins looked at Luffy with a livid face. Impossible. How could my scarecrow be defeated so easily? I saw Hawkins draw a card from the deck again. Looking at the drawn card, Hawkins smiled wickedly. But how could my scarecrow die so easily? I saw Hawkins showing the card again. Shinigami reversed. Purple light emanated from the card, and soon the scarecrows that were scattered were reunited and revived again. Hawkins drew 2 cards in a row again, and the joy on his face was visible to the naked eye. Shinigami upright. Hope reversed. A huge 980 sickle first appeared in the scarecrow's hand, and then the red blood light attached to the scarecrow, making the scarecrow swell again, and even a huge thorn ball was added on the back of the sickle. Shinigami is upright. Empowers the scarecrow and grants a giant Shinigami scythe. Hope reversed. The scarecrow, which is already strengthened by Shinigami cards, is further strengthened. Hawkins looked at Luffy again excitedly. Fate is indeed on my side. Yo, resurrected. Luffy looked at the revived scarecrow with great interest. Hawkins once said that his scarecrow was immortal when he was reading comics in his previous life. As a result, he was unlucky enough to draw the Tower card, and finally hated West Asia. But at present, Hawkins' luck is good, and all of them have drawn cards that are beneficial to him. But, Luffy sneered, you will be resurrected. Hell Dao didn't know when to summon Hades from the prison, and the intact Shiradao walked out from the mouth of Hell Dao. How can it be? Hawkins looked in shock at the repaired Shiradao, he had obviously smashed it to pieces. Advertisement. But Luffy doesn't give Hawkins time to daze. Lalatow manipulated summoning animals such as pit bulls and giant rhinos to kill Hawkins. The weapons all over Shiradao burst out, and countless explosions exploded on the scarecrow. Ninjutsu of the 6 attributes of heaven came at will, and Hawkins desperately waved the sickle in his hand to deal with the attacks coming from all directions. Impossible. How come you have so many powerful guards? Hawkins looked at Luffy with a puzzled face. Why didn't my tarot cards come out? Luffy smiled and said to Hawkins, who knows, maybe your card is malfunctioning. Impossible. My card is absolute. Poof. A pillar of fire engulfed Hawkins. A scarecrow drops from it. Another Shiradao's head laser cannon shot through it, and a straw puppet fell again. Hawkins said proudly, I am immortal. I still have countless dolls like this. These are all prepared to deal with you, a person beyond your destiny. Luffy smiled nonchalantly and said, really? I don't think so. Single quote. At this time, the human world did not know when it appeared behind Hawkins. I saw his right hand pressing on the top of Hawkins' head. The other hand is in the shape of a tiger print. Soul extraction. I saw that the human way took Hawkins' soul out of his body, and threw it into the mouth of Hades summoning from the Hell Way. Hawkins, who was still complacent, lost his vitality in an instant. Damage transfer. Luffy sneered, for the damage at the soul level, transfer 1 for me to see. Unless other devil fruits like Brook's Underworld fruit and Big Mom's soul fruit can act on the soul, most devil fruits are aimed at the body. Even if Hawkins' scarecrow fruit can transfer damage, but the soul disappears, Hawkins still cannot avoid death. At this time, Kurha, who was seriously injured, looked at the dead Hawkins in disbelief. Do Shinigami really exist? Then what is the meaning of our doctor's existence? Luffy lifted it up with a smile. Of course it is to prevent the Shinigami from coming. At this time, Chopper has also returned to that cute little deer look. Advertisement. Luffy performed a simple medical ninjutsu on her, stopping her bleeding wound. After all, you're not a doctor, and you'll have to deal with the internal injuries yourself. Kurha looked at his healed wound in shock, which was much better than the 20-year-old surgical operation performed by the doctor in Wapple. Who are you? Kurha asked Luffy. Luffy pointed to the cloak of justice behind him. Monkey D. Luffy, a marine quasi-tutorial. Marine. Why did Marine come here? Kurha asked strangely. Luffy replied with a smile. I want to find a ship doctor for my warship. I heard that the Drum Kingdom is a good medical country, so come and have a look. On the way, I also killed a pirate named Wapple. Wapple. Kurha was taken aback, that hateful king. That's not the king. He's the captain of the White Iron Pirates. As a marine, it's a pity that I don't eliminate evil and promote good, so I wiped it out. Kurha took a deep look at Luffy. You are an interesting person, I would like to recommend a ship doctor to you. Luffy grinned. I would like to hear more about it. When Sanji and Zoro climbed up the mountain, Luffy was sitting in the castle drinking black tea leisurely. The two looked at the scene of the fight and the corpses all over the ground with a confused face. Is this a world war? Luffy greeted the two of them. Hey, you guys came up too late, I'm done warming up. Zoro looked at the piled-up corpses of the Hawkins pirates strangely and asked, what's wrong? Oh, there was an inconspicuous little pirate who came to look for my business when he was full, but I dismissed it smoothly. Zoro looked at the dead body on the ground strangely. There are pirates who come here to trouble you. It's so strange. What's so strange? When we get to the new world, those pirates are truly unscrupulous, Luffy said calmly, taking a sip of tea. There is the world of the truly strong. Zoro's eyes were full of hope when he heard the words, really? Then we really should go and have a look as soon as possible. By the way, you didn't come to see the ship's doctor. Where's the ship's doctor? Sanji frowned and looked around, and saw Chopper's eyes lit up on the bed. Hey. Why is there a reindeer cub here? The steak of this thing is delicious. This is our ship's doctor. Oh, so it's the ship's doctor. Zoro, Sanji, Nani. Chapter 109 The Marine Chopper in Common People's Form. Advertisement. Nami and the others looked at Chopper, who buried his head outside the door and exposed his body in the eyes of everyone, with disbelief in his eyes. You said this is our future ship doctor. This civet cat. Chopper was furious. I'm not a civet cat. I'm a reindeer. Nami, Vivi and others were taken to the castle by Lu Fei. At this time, the doctor girl, Kuleha, was fine. Instead, Chopper helped Kuleha block most of the damage. The injury was too serious, and she was entangled like a mummy. The ship doctor that Kurha mentioned is naturally the reindeer Chopper who has always yearned for freedom. And Kurha also knows that Chopper's dream is in the sea, and it dreams of seeing the really beautiful sakura flowers. So regardless of Chopper's objection, Kurha kicked Chopper out and threw it to Luffy. Seeing Chopper's excited expression, Nami and Vivi's eyes lit up, and the angry Chopper was like a girl killer. Luffy looked at Chopper and sighed. Originally, he wanted to find some kind of excuse to trick Chopper into his team, but he didn't expect that Hawkins' heavenly justice would directly give him a wave of divine assists, making himself a big Kamui at the same time. Kurha directly entrusted Chopper to herself. Originally, he wanted to get close by killing Wapol to avenge Chopper, but it didn't work. At this moment, Luffy couldn't help feeling that Hawkins was indeed a good man. Ah, talk. Everyone looked at the retorting Chopper in shock, as if they hadn't expected the animal in front of them to be able to speak at all. This unlucky child was originally a reindeer, but later he ate the human fruit in the common people's form, and then possessed human wisdom and the ability to transform. Luffy introduced to everyone, don't look at him like this, in terms of strength, he is not weaker than, Usopp's. Usopp. Oi, don't single me out and introduce me, B*************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** loudly to the crowd. Chopper immediately turned around and cursed at Luffy. Bajie Yalu, B***************, who is the partner of you guys? Hey, stop talking, Baga. Everyone. The body is so honest. Chopper looked at the crowd and said hesitantly, aren't you scared when you see me? A talking reindeer with a blue nose. Afraid. Everyone looked at Chopper strangely. What's there to be afraid of? Say something scary. Nami suddenly turned Luffy's head 720 degrees on the spot. Isn't this guy more scary? Advertisement. Chopper. R.A.1. Head off. Chopper ran back and forth in fright. Hey, don't use me as an experiment. Don't you see that Usopp with the long nose over there is also very strange? Usopp. Hi, what's the matter with him? Chopper looked at Luffy in shock. As you can see, it has the same demon fruit power as you, and it is a zone 1 beast species, fruit of everyone's sun god form. Human fruit. Chopper stared at Luffy's incredulous exclamation with wide eyes. That's right, zone human fruit phantom beast Nika form, is the same type of devil fruit as you. Luffy said to Chopper with a smile. Chopper suddenly burst into tears, as if he had found a companion. He threw himself on Luffy and cried loudly. He was disgusted by the deer because of his blue nose since he was a child, and later he was treated as a monster by humans after eating the human fruit. At this time, he looked at Luffy as if he had met a long-lost relative. Isn't Luffy a rubber fruit? Whatever he wants to call it, he calls it the fruit of God, and now I also believe it. Vivi and Nami whispered. Luffy touched Chopper's head and said comfortingly, Kurha has already told me that Harulik was already terminally ill before he died, and his death has nothing to do with you. He just hopes that you will not give up your original intention of being a doctor. You have already seen the pirates in the sea, the guy who injured you and Dr. Kuleha. Chopper remembered the angry look on Hawken's face from before. And we are the Marines who bring those villains to justice. We are the righteous teachers to maintain the freedom of people at sea, so you are welcome to join Marine, Tony Chopper. Hearing this, Chopper remembered that he used the poison-making book to kill Harulik in advance because he believed that the pirates were good, and remembered the pirate Hawkins who rewarded Dr. Kuleha before. Chopper finally nodded fiercely. I am willing to join Marine. Zoro, Sanji and others grinned at Chopper, welcoming him. Advertisement. Yaoshi, little ones, the party is on. Ah, the crowd led Chopper back to the melee. Is this a warship? Chopper looked at the Mary with bright eyes and asked Luffy. Luffy nodded embarrassingly. Yes, this is a warship. Zoro and the others looked at Luffy with distaste. Obviously they had no money to go to the Marine headquarters to buy warships. Yaoshi. To celebrate the joining of Chopper, let's drink. 0. Everyone set up a barbecue grill, held up rum and shouted. And at this time, a huge colorful firework suddenly rose above Gutsy Peak. Everyone turned their heads to look in the direction of Magnetic Drum Island, and the pink mist enveloped Magnetic Drum Mountain, which has been snowing all year round. After the snowflakes all over the sky are stained with pink, they look like huge sakura flower trees standing above the sky. Chopper looked at the sakura flower tree formed by snowflakes with tears in his eyes, and cried loudly, Dr. Shiruluk. Amazing. It's so beautiful. Everyone stared in shock at the beautiful scene in front of them, with admiration on their lips. Luffy looked at the scene in front of him and asked Sanji for a cigarette to light. This is a quack doctor who spent 30 years to make sakura bloom on this winter island where it snows all the year round. At this time, Kuleha and Dalton stood on the palace, and a dozen soldiers behind them kept firing pink dust cannons towards the sky. You will be the king of this kingdom from now on. Dalton, have you figured out what the name of the country is? Kurha sipped his wine and said to Dalton on the side. Dalton's face was full of tears. I didn't expect that this country would really be saved, as he said. From now on this country will be called Sakura Flower Kingdom. Sakura Flower Kingdom. Kurha looked at the pink snowflakes in the sky. What a nice name. So to this newly established country, let's drink. Chapter 110. The mission restoration is full. Lottery. Advertisement. Doctor, is this all right? The Drum Kingdom has perished, and I have found my partner. Chopper looked at the magnetic drum peak that was gradually disappearing and muttered in his heart. Hey, Chopper. Come have a drink. Ah, Baga, I won't be happy even if you give me a drink. Usopp. Come on Chopper, hold your nose with chopsticks, this is the way pirates celebrate in legend. Boom. Nami stood behind the fainted Usopp with his fists up and his head full of black lines. Don't teach Chopper weird stuff, B******************. D. Nami sighed, and comforted Chopper. Did it scare you? You're the company of these crazy fellows, too. Chopper looked at Nami expectantly and asked, companion. That's right, although they are some guys who lack common sense, they are all companions now, so you must get used to 703 in the future. Nami said to Chopper with a smile. Chopper nodded excitedly. I will definitely get used to it soon. Before Chopper picked it up, Usopp's chopsticks were dismantled on his nose. Nami. These don't need to learn. Before Nami could finish speaking, Chopper was dragged by the crowd and pulled 985 up. You bastards, that's enough. Chopper is our ship's doctor, don't be led astray by you. B****************. D. Nami looked frantically at the Chopper who had gradually become 2B and growled. Zoro was shocked. Nani. Chopper is a doctor. It's amazing. Isn't it a lie? Nami looked at the crowd with black lines all over his head. By the way, why did you invite Chopper on board? Sanji. Emergency food. Chopper. Huh. Luffy looked at the crowd with disdain. You don't even know what it means to open a high-ranking frame with a 100% bounty. Everyone. Huh. The next day, the sea was sunny. Chopper looked around excitedly. Advertisement. Amazing. The sea is so vast. Chopper screamed excitedly looking at the endless sea level. Of course, this is the Grand Line known as the Cemetery of Pirates, and the reason why it became the Cemetery of Pirates is precisely because there are righteous Marines like us. Especially the Armada led by my great Captain Usopp. Usopp bragged to Chopper with his head held high. Chopper looked at Usopp with staring admiration. Suddenly a shadow in the sky blocked everyone's sunlight. Chopper looked excitedly at the big bird in the sky. What is that? Zoro took a look. Oh, seagull. Nami rolled his eyes when he saw it. How could there be such a big seagull? At this time, Chopper has already greeted the giant bird excitedly. Oh, hello seagull. In the next second, the huge seabird, which was half the size of the melee, immediately turned around and rushed towards the melee. Zoro looked at the seagull-shaped giant bird and nodded. I'm right, it's a seagull. Chopper looked at the giant bird excitedly. It's amazing. Nami. Jong dish. Now is not the time to argue about these issues, it's coming. The giant bird pounced on an eagle and lifted Zoro, who was pulling iron, into the sky. Chopper was stunned for a moment, and then ran back and forth in horror. No. Zoro was taken away by a giant bird. No way. Zoro was taken away by a giant bird. To 3. King Fried. Idiot. I play against 3 and you play King Bomb. The card is good, can you control it? We're a bunch of bastards. Chopper looked at the unmoved Luffy and the three of them with a confused expression. Zoro has been taken away. Sanji returned without looking up. Did he ask for help? Chopper was taken aback. No. Usopp nodded. That's all right, leave him alone. One hand SE42. The plane blows up. Nani. Did you cheat? How come there are so many bombs? Chopper wanted to say something more, but 3 swords style eagle wave. There was a clanging of knives in the sky as the bird was beheaded directly by Zoro in the beak. Advertisement. With a plop, the body of the giant bird directly pressed the 3 of Luffy under him. Hey, color cook, I brought the meat back, hurry up and cook. Zoro looked at the 3 of Luffy who were crushed under the bird's body and asked strangely, huh? How do you sleep in broad daylight? Luffy, Sanji, and Usopp yelled furiously, it's all your fault. Hey you guys, stop playing, we're going to Alabasta soon. Then Nami's voice came from the deck below. Usopp said unwillingly, it's rare to draw a good card. The people came to the deck. Vivi once again introduced the prestige of Shichibukai to everyone, and then he said to everyone with a serious face. Clockadar's reputation in Alabasta is very high, because he will defeat the pirates who attack the town. But that's just the face of Kadar Lock, in fact, he is behind the scenes, causing civil unrest in Alabasta. For the sake of taking Alabasta, no one finds out about it. Speaking of this, Vivi bit her lips tightly and said in disbelief, so is the citizen, so is the father. Luffy smiled. What are you afraid of? We are the Righteous Marine, Baroque Work Agency. It's time to change the name in 2 days. At least from the intelligence point of view, Luffy is also worthy of receiving the command. Character reduction degree. 100%. Ninjutsu skills. 6 kinds of chakra attribute ninjutsu, Rain Tiger free technique. Current loading template. 6 paths Pain Uzumaki Nagato. Anti-MI male. In this way, he was forced out of the title of Pirate Hunter. Luffy narrowed his eyes and muttered. Character reset countdown. 20 hours and 34 minutes. Innate abilities. Rinnegan, Summoning, Universal Pull, Shenluo Tianzhong, Planetary Devastation, Summoning Cerberus, Yata Bird, Chameleon. Chakra, Physical Strength, Devouring. Sealing Spell Suction. Soul Extraction. Hades Wheel Regeneration. Mechanism Armor. Attack of Asura. Summoning Ghetto Statue. Chakra Dragon. Heterogeneous Rinne Tensai, Uzumaki Bloodline. MR2. Bentham. Open Black Lens Bracket Equipment. Black Rod Chakra Receiver, 6 paths Pain Close Black Lens Bracket. Ever since he went to sea, this guy has slaughtered a few pirates to collect the bounty when he was too hungry. Just because the Baroque Work Club can climb the upside-down mountain and return to East Blue to invite Zoro, we can know that the strength of the Baroque Work Club is far from being as simple as everyone sees. Huh, Zoro was full of disdain. There's something wrong with controlling those little brats. Open black lens bracket host. Wong Luffy Monkey D. Luffy close black lens bracket. And Luffy glanced at his own property panel at this time. By the way, you control most of the million elders and billions of elders, right? Usopp thought of the attacks on the way to Little Garden. You should first pay back the money you borrowed from Nami to buy the knife. Luffy rolled his eyes at Zoro, who didn't know the price of daily necessities. Time is running out, is it here? Chapter 111 Character Explosion. Jackpot. Advertisement. Goo. Damn it, I'm so hungry. Luffy's stomach was rumbling, and the hand holding the fishing rod was a little weak. Usopp on the side also complained weakly. It's not because you ate up all the food you prepared in advance. I can't help it. Exercise requires a lot of energy. After all, it is to deal with Locked Doll. How can you improve yourself before you talk about it? It's as if you didn't steal it. Isn't the 1/10 of yours worth what I ate? You can't catch any fish at all. No way, I don't even have a decent bait. Who let the bait be eaten by you b******************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** anything. Vivi walked over from the side at this time and asked. Quack quack. Suddenly, a miserable cry came from the two fishing lines. Vivi pushed the two of them aside and looked down, and saw the running and entangled struggling desperately in midair. Kuru. Wei 14 Wei screamed. How? Let's think about it. Maybe we can catch Sea Kings. Vivi. Plus Lu, you too, what did you do to Kuru? With a bang, their heads collided. Upright Vivi suddenly saw that the sea ahead was shrouded in a large gray-white fog. What's that? Will it be all right? Vivi asked with a frown. Don't worry, nothing will happen. Nami stepped down from the boat. It's just water vapor. The water vapor formed by evaporating seawater from seawater magma. It may be a little hot. 1. Soon everyone rushed into the water vapor, and the strong sulfur smell made everyone cough. Advertisement. The fishing rod in Luffy's own hand sank suddenly, and then he smiled slightly. Sometimes the plot is useful, so it's not a hook. What? Usopp also felt the weight of the fishing rod. Did you catch a fish? When everyone came out of the water vapor, they saw a pervert uncle wearing a swan costume and heavy makeup lying on the body of the fast runner. It is the Mr. 2 of Barlock Works. Several people looked at Mr. 2 and shouted suddenly, it's over. Why did I fly in the sky holding a Madara-billed duck that I met for the first time? Usopp looked at Bentham in bewilderment. Is this human? I don't know, maybe it's a siren or something. At this moment, Bentham slipped his hand and fell straight into the sea with a plop. Probably an idiot. Yo, welcome to Mary, M2. Luffy smiled and looked at Bentham who was about to sink in the water. What? Everyone looked at Luffy in surprise. Is he Mr. 2? Bentham, who was struggling below, was stunned. Who are you? No, help me, I'm the King Duck. If you don't save me, I'm going to drown. Is this idiot really Mr. 2? Luffy, you're right. At this time, Golden Week walked out of the cabin. Ah. Mr. 2. Only then did everyone believe what Luffy said. This is our enemy, don't save me. Zoro said, looking at Bentham who was about to sink to the bottom. Hey, you can't say that. Luffy waved his hand. His crew is nearby. Even if it doesn't save him, at least he can catch it and throw it away. Everyone. Are you a devil? The crowd then fished Bentham out of the sea. Bentham spread out on the deck and thanked loudly. Oh, I'm so sorry. Sorry, I was rescued by a marine who I have never met. Marine. Zoro placed the words of peace on Bentham's neck. That's right, Marine, congratulations on your arrest. Nani. Bentham's jaw almost dropped. At this moment, he saw Golden Joe Jung leisurely nibbling on a croquette and watching the excitement. Tears welled up in his eyes. Golden Week, have you been arrested too? Golden Week said lightly. Oh, I joined them. Bentham. Oh, so I joined them, what? Joined them. Advertisement. Luffy walked up to Bentham at this time. Get to know me, Naval Headquarters Commodore Monkey D. Luffy, this time I am going to Alabasta to deal with Kelkadar who is planning to destroy the country. My other identity is MR0. Quote. Nani. Bentham looked at Luffy in shock. You are. At this moment, Luffy's eyes suddenly turned into Rinnegan, but in the next second Rinnegan turned into a Scarlet Guyu. Uchiha Madara's Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. After Luffy developed the Nagato template to Ultimate, he thought that Uchiha Madara's Mangekyo had been promoted to Rinnegan at the first level, so he tried to reverse Mangekyo. Sure enough, when the time limit was about to disappear, he successfully reversed Rinnegan to Mangekyo Sharingan. At this time, Bentham's eyes were covered by Mangekyo's red hook jade, and he murmured unconsciously in his eyes. Oh, you are little Zero, and Lock Doll is trying to occupy your Mr. Zero's position. Luffy grins, Uchiha Madara's illusion used to control 4th Mizukage Yagura. Suddenly Luffy's expression froze, he looked at the system in disbelief and prompted. Vivi struggled to look at MR2 going away, are you sure he will help us in this rebellion? However, just in case, it's better for us to take some precautions. After all, his ability to transform is too troublesome. Nami suggested from the side. Although Rinnegan is more powerful, many skills need to be used when Mangekyo. After all, the high-end combat power of the Pakistan Lock Work Agency is really pitiful. After killing one MR3, there are only 4 capable users. Without them, even at the entrance of the Grand Line, this group of little Carla Rice will be very difficult to make a difference. Since Nagato has no Uchiha blood at all, the Mangekyo after transplanting the opened eyes cannot be closed and cannot be degenerated. And he has been waiting for the arrival of Bentham, precisely in order to take down the high-level combat power of the few Pakistani lock work agencies. As a result, Nagato, like Kakashi, needs to use a large amount of chakra to maintain Rinnegan every day. Subsequently, the reward draw is in progress, this time. Rinnegan. Ding dong, the Uzumaki Nagato template has expired. 100% reduction this time. Of course, the scarlet in Luffy's eyes receded. This is another world's plug-in ability, a mere MR2, it is impossible to resist the control of Lord Madara. Master Madara. Vivi was taken aback. After all, the time for his Nagato template has expired, and no one knows whether the illusion can still be triggered after Rinnegan disappears. And Uchiha Madara herself can turn off and switch forms at will. Is that all right, Mr. Luffy? Luffy nodded and didn't care. Since they were worried, it didn't matter if they prepared. After loading the template, Luffy found that he could close Rinnegan at any time without knowing whether it was system optimization or not. Chapter 112 Target Capture Ace. Advertisement. I boil. Luffy let out a cry. Everyone looked at Luffy in unison. What's wrong? Luffy took a deep breath and waved his hands. It's nothing, happy. Luffy felt the changes in his eyes. Unlike the loading template, a tingling pain directly covered his eyes. Luffy rubbed his eyes hard, and Pervert's dynamic vision, which had just disappeared, reappeared. And because the eyes are modified directly, Luffy can feel that using Rinnegan is far less expensive than loading the Nagato template. The only thing that makes Luffy feel bad is that since he doesn't have chakra, using Rinnegan directly consumes his life. Although he has the undead characteristic of code. But with his current lifespan, not to mention Tengai Shinsei, even Susanoo can't come out, which makes Luffy feel extremely painful. It's like Susanoo needs to consume 1000 mana points, but at this time Luffy's mana limit is only 100 points, and by sacrifice all of his life can't activate the coolest wall-hanging skill in Hokage. This makes Luffy very much want to continue to draw the characters in Hokage. It is best to come to the Uzumaki family to get yourself a vortex bloodline. Once you have enough mana, Akainu's meteor volcano is considered a ball, under Madara's Tengai Shinsei, that is a young brother. Fujitora's manipulative gravity isn't even worthy of lifting a shoe in front of Rinnegan. Although I can't use Madara's dancing prowess, it won't be a big problem to resist me in the future. Luffy thought happily in his heart that although he lacked the blessing of Nagato's Uzumaki bloodline and was not as strong as Pain in terms of persistence, he could still use the power of Super Shenluo Tianjung by relying on suicide attacks. Suddenly, the melee shook for a while. A huge sea beast in the shape of a beckoning cat suddenly appeared behind the stern. What? Everyone looked at the sea cat that suddenly appeared in astonishment. Zoro suddenly became excited, and his whole face was distorted. He quickly pulled out 3 knives and rushed to the stern. Axi. Food after 4 days away. Degree. Advertisement. Sanji was also full of excitement. Don't let him escape, you must catch it. Now let me make delicious seafood dishes for you. Luffy showed a lot of calmness. Just let me test my strength, universal pull. The sea cat who was begging for some food was terrified by Luffy and rushed towards the melee. Boom, boom, boom. The backs of the heads of the 3 of them swelled up at a speed visible to the naked eye. Vivi was holding a mop behind her and roaring frantically. No. Why? Vivi sauce. Sanji looked at the fleeing sea cat with a look of despair and asked. Don't eat it. In Alabasta the sea cat is a sacred animal, it will bless us and make us rich. Why is it like this? Chopper jumped his feet excitedly. There are really all kinds of things in the sea. Usopp, who was so frightened lying on the deck, saw that the sea cat was scared away, so he got up and stood on the cannon. You are really timid to be frightened by such a weak creature. Yushi, let me tell you that I am in calm the story of the battle between the Belt and the Sea Kings. Chopper. Zhang. W. One less Chopper. Sea Kings. Usopp. It's big, and it's that, so big. Chopper. Bulling. Sea cats can only be found near Alabasta. Seeing sea cats means that you are already very close to Alabasta. Then everyone can have a full meal. Vivi comforted everyone who was ready to speak to the emergency food chopper at this time. Suddenly Zoro opened his mouth and looked at the back of the boat and said, Are those boats behind you familiar? Usopp looked behind with the binoculars, and saw ships with pictures of Bar Lock Works behind. Have the employees of the company begun to assemble? Advertisement. Vivi looked at the ships behind solemnly, and then he was a little uncertain, but it looks. It seems that all of them are chasing us. Luffy grinned. Isn't this food available? Soon one after another ships approached the melee. The purpose of Luffy coming to Alabasta this time is not only Clock Doll, the other purpose is naturally his cheap big brother Fire Fist Ace and the future 4 emperors. Blackbeard teach. Now in terms of strength, although Luffy is far superior to Monkey D. Luffy compared to the original book, but against the group of armament hockey, observation hockey, and perverts with full fruit development ability in New World, Luffy still has no idea. And to prevent Ace's execution, it is naturally necessary for Blackbeard to catch Ace first and improve his right to speak in Marine. After all, at this time, Luffy's use of armament hockey can only reach the winding stage, and it can only hurt Logia. I am a kind person, and it is definitely not because I am worried that Garp's relegation to the second line will reduce his prestige and affect him to poach Marine's foot. Thinking of this, Luffy nodded in satisfaction with his integrity, and good people are rewarded. Luffy has no objection to Sengoku's plan, but Luffy has reservations about Ace being the bait. Although he is not the original Monkey D. Luffy, he has inherited a lot of Garp's love along the way. Naturally, Luffy didn't want to let the poor old man downhearted. Picking up Sanji's cooking, Luffy thought in his mind how to capture Ace. It's not just because Ace is his designated heir, but because of his longing for his family. Luffy nodded in satisfaction, and sure enough, the effect of Geass did not disappear because of the disappearance of the template. Luffy waved the group to bring some food onto the boat, and then sent them to Alabasta to gather information in advance. To deal with it, Luffy will not hesitate at all, and even if he is on the opposite side, Luffy has to admire Whitebeard's character of defending his shortcomings. So there are many candidates who want to draw Whitebeard, and it doesn't have to be Ace. A billion elders with red eyes knelt on the deck with a plop. Yes, your highness. Just like what he said after being attacked by Scuyard, even if a captain of a large fleet under his command, Zhao Mahao, was captured, Whitebeard would still bring everyone to the rescue without hesitation. Everyone knelt in front of Luffy and bowed their heads respectfully. As for the Whitebeard pirates, their own understanding is only in the previous life anime. Although there is no great hatred, which one of the hands of the four emperors is not covered with blood and sin. When Lelouch got the Geass for the first time, he tested it with passers-by. If the Geass doesn't have a strong will or external force to release it, otherwise it will be with the recruiter for a lifetime. Chapter 113 Scared Vivi. Advertisement. Over a port. Countless pirates with machetes are burning, killing and looting everywhere. A few leisurely figures came slowly not far away, forming a stark contrast with the fleeing citizens. The leader wears a straw hat and a cloak of justice. Looking at the epaulettes, he is a marine commodore. Vivi, is your country in such a mess? There are 0 yuan purchases everywhere. Usopp hid behind Zoro and looked at the group of pirates and said. Vivi's face was full of grief. This is all caused by Locke. The civil strife in the kingdom has caused the kingdom's army to have no time to take care of the pirates' invasion. Luffy rubbed his nose and said to Zoro and Sanji, stop staring, let's work. Zoro grinned, put on his righteous cloak from Marine Base, tied a green turban, and directly posed an upright map with the word, Hidao, in his mouth. Behind Sanji is also wearing the cloak of justice. The opponents who have been promoted from naval headquarters are not pirates at all, so there is no need to wear this cloak representing Marine. Now when I just entered Alabasta, I encountered pirates who took advantage of the fire, which made everyone who became Marine very excited. Boss, look, there's a Marine, a little guy reminded loudly to a fat pig with small eyes. What Marine? How does Alabasta have Marine 407? The pirate boss was taken aback. Since Alabasta fell into civil strife, the world government did not know whether it was due to reputation reasons, adhering to non-interference in other countries' internal affairs, and evacuated all the Marines in Alabasta. Is that the white hunter smoker? I don't seem to be smoking a cigar. What are you afraid of? Go. Cut them down. The pirate captain waved his hand, and a group of little Carla Rice rushed out towards Zoro and the others. Three-sword style. Eagle waves. Zoro stomped on both feet and disappeared in the eyes of the pirates. Nani, people. In the next second, Zoro appeared behind the pirates, and a dozen pirates suddenly spurted blood from their chests and fell to the ground. HMPH. How about a perverted cook? Zoro proudly turned his head to Sanji. Sanji gave Zoro a disdainful look, and slowly raised one eye. Advertisement. If you want to say who in the straw hats, except for Luffy, has made a big difference compared to the original work, then the number one must be Sanji, who relies on kicking to eat. Because whether it is shaving, tempest kick, moonwalk, or paper arts, it requires steady feet, and it happens that this is Sanji's specialty. BEFH, and Sanji is Germa's most successful reformer, and his potential is no less than Zoro. In the original book, Sanji was photographed flying to the S******** kingdom, and everyone else has made great progress in his own field. On the other hand, Sanji learned a CP9 moonwalk that he just finished playing, and almost fell out of the 3 main players. It is easy for everyone who is a Marine to learn Marine 6 styles these days. In particular, Sanji's comprehension of the 6 styles is rapid. I saw him stomping on both feet, walking through the crowd like a ghost, chopping the pirates to the ground one after another with his kicks. After a while, more than 20 pirates fell at Sanji's feet. The splattered blood sticking to the soles of his feet made Sanji feel a little bit like the red-footed Zapu back then. Sanji raised an eyebrow triumphantly at Zoro. Don't move. The pirate chief's shout reached Sanji and Zoro. The two turned their heads and saw that the pirate leader, who had become a loner, was pointing a shotgun at Luffy's head, trembling all over. Don't move. Whoever moves, I will kill him. The pirate boss yelled at Zoro and Sanji sternly. Zoro laughed and put away the 3 knives. Sanji lit a cigarette again and watched the show. Luffy raised his eyebrows. I look so easy to bully. Shut up. Boom. The pirate boss who just came said these 2 words anxiously, and his whole body seemed to be hit by a huge force and suddenly flew upside down. I hate people pointing guns at me, how dangerous it is. Luffy shook his head and muttered. Sanji and Zoro tugged at the corners of their mouths. The unlucky pirate had all his ancient pockets smashed to pieces. At this time, Nami and others came together. Nami looked at the pirates on the ground with bright eyes and asked, how is it? Is there a bounty? Usopp flipped through a stack of bounty orders that he got out of nowhere, and quickly shook his head in disappointment. No. Advertisement. Nami looked at the group of hapless pirates with distaste and spat. They're all in the Grand Line, and they don't even have a bounty. How are you doing it? Speech. Luffy came over and said with a smile. There are also aboriginal pirates on the Grand Line, and not all of them come from all over the world. Nami sighed in disappointment. That's right, it seems that I can't just think about earning rewards. Luffy comforted Nami. After the Alabasta matter is over, we will take over the Pakistan Lock Work Agency, and then a steady stream of funds will be handed over to you. Don't worry about this little money. Nami cheered up immediately after hearing this. Then hurry up. Where shall we go first, Vivi? Vivi, who was in a daze behind, was taken aback. Ah. Yes. What's wrong with you? Why did you become dumb after arriving in Alabasta? Nami asked Vivi strangely. Ah, the main thing is that the city looks peaceful, and there is no sign of war. I always feel relieved. Vivi smiled at everyone. Hey, Vivi, didn't you say that there is a way to stop the rebellion? What should we do next? What do we need to do? Zoro turned to Vivi and said. Luffy laughed and said, do you want me to kill all the rebels for you? Believe me, I definitely have the strength. Luffy said and glanced at his property panel. No. Vivi was terrified. She thought of Luffy's terrifying strength in Little Garden, and it might be possible to wipe out hundreds of thousands of rebels. But for Vivi, no matter which side it is, they are innocent citizens who have been deceived by Kettle. Nami punched Luffy with a thud. Don't scare Vivi. Vivi breathed a sigh of relief, and then hesitantly said to everyone, actually, you are very grateful for sending me here, and I will leave the rest to myself. Nami gently tapped Vivi on the head. I'm really speechless to you, and you still say such things. Vivi. It hurts, Nami. We've all come here together. Even if you don't want our help, these passionate young people with a strong sense of justice will definitely not let it go. Nami said and pointed to Luffy and others. Even Usopp swayed his legs and looked at Vivi calmly. If you don't tell me, I will help you wipe out all the rebels. Luffy gloated beside him. Boom. I told you not to scare her. Chapter 114 Ace Haunted, Luffy published. Advertisement. Looking at the crowd who didn't flinch at all, Vivi was very moved at this time. Vivi looked at Luffy and others excitedly. Small matter, isn't it just to destroy Shichibukai? Although Marine has no support, as long as we find evidence of his crime, it will be a great contribution. Luffy chuckled. Smoker was sent to a remote suburb as vice admiral because of taking this credit and contradicting the senior management. At this time, Luffy, being a Marine, would naturally not allow the government to hide his identity because of shame, but would publicize Luffy's achievements to make up for Shichibukai's mistakes. That is to say, I'm also very interested in Shichibukai. Zoro laughed from the side. Nami said to Zoro with black lines all over his head, your words are superfluous. Then she turned her head to look at Vivi and said with gloomy eyes, besides, if this country is destroyed, who am I going to ask for the 300 million protection fee? Do you understand? Vivi. Hi. Nami's mood brightened when she heard Vivi's promise. It's good to understand, haha. Zoro recalled the huge usury loan he owed as a temporary pickup, and cursed. Sooner or later, you will go to the 18th floor of hell. Thank you so much, Zoro, I haven't forgotten the money you owe me. UB *********** D. Even if I turn into a ghost, I will ask you for it. Zoro. Joe Convex hateful. Give me back the 400,000 Pele. Why has it changed again? If you don't hurry up, there will be more. Hey, Usopp, be fair. Lick the dog. Sanji was the first to speak. Nami-san is right. What did you say? The crowd frolicked for a while, which relieved Vivi's heavy heart. She solemnly bowed to everyone. Thank you everyone. Advertisement. Everyone laughed and stopped talking. Vivi's face became serious, and he said to everyone, there is an oasis called Yuba in the northwest of this city. There is the stronghold of the rebel army. I want to go there first to stop the riot. However, if you want to go to Juba, you have to cross the desert. We still need to prepare for supplies. Everyone nodded upon hearing this. Sanji stroked his chin and suggested, can't Luffy fly us there with his weird eyes? Luffy spread his hands regretfully. For some special reasons, I currently have some restrictions on using binoculars. That's it. Everyone nodded, but they didn't go into it. Since Luffy said it, there must be his reasons. But Luffy, didn't you say that you still need to find your big brother when you come to Alabasta? Will you not be delayed on the route? Vivi asked Luffy. Luffy smiled and waved his hands. I don't know exactly where it is, I can only say it's just random. Ace once left a message in Drum Kingdom saying that he would wait for him in Alabasta for 10 days. Now that the plot has been messed up by him, he is not sure whether Ace will appear in Alabasta Luffy, so he can only try to find out according to the original plot. Our looks are exposed under the nose of K-Lock Doll, don't we need to pretend? Usopp suggested. Pretend to be a fart. We are Marine, and he dares to fight us in the open and above board. What's more, most of the billions of elders under him now are his own people, and the only men he can control now are those who are in the reign. The 200 million elders of order. Luffy rolled his eyes directly at Usopp. I'm not a pirate, so I still use a disguise. Speaking of which, Smoker seems to have come to Alabasta a long time ago. The title of White Hunter has come out. Everyone can't be too idle. Let's go, buy and find the rebels. Luffy waved his big hand and everyone walked towards Naruhara in a mighty manner. Oh, awesome. There's also roasted venison here. Would Chopper have some? Sanji smiled at Chopper with a skewer of roasted meat. Chopper shook his head frantically in fright. Nami punches Sanji on the head. Idiot. Don't bully Chopper. Chopper signaled it was okay, but shrugged his nose vigorously. Usopp asked from the sidelines, what's the matter? There are always some strange smells that are uncomfortable. Chopper looked at a perfume shop with a frown and said. Oh, that's perfume. Sanji stared at the two girls in gauze who came out of the perfume shop with bright eyes. Advertisement. In the next second, he picked up a beautiful woman's little hand and said affectionately, do you want to know one thing I want to do with you every day? That is 3 meals a day. Asking for flowers. Boom. Nami apologized to the girl while holding Sanji who was knocked unconscious. I'm sorry, he was kicked in the head by a donkey. The two girls waved their hands and left in fright. Nami throws a list to Sanji. Hurry up. Go shopping. Then he pulled Vivi up and walked towards the perfume shop on the side. Chopper sniffed hard again, and suddenly felt a nausea. No, this smell is really unbearable. Usopp pointed to the alley beside him and said, if you can't, let's take a rest first. You reindeer live in Winter Island, so it must be the cause of heatstroke. I just need to add some chili oil. Hey, Luffy, what are you doing? Zero. Zoro looked at Luffy who was about to leave the team and asked. Luffy waved his hand. See if you can find that cheap guy, you guys go around first. Brother cheap. Zoro scratched his head as he watched Luffy leave, and found a shady corner to sleep. Anyway, in his opinion, there is no one who can threaten Luffy's safety, and he has great confidence in Luffy. At this time, at a divination booth a few streets away. Hello, have you seen this man before? Ace, wearing a cowboy hat, is holding a newspaper and asking the fortune teller. Monkey D. Luffy, I haven't seen it, but the owner of the restaurant in front of him has a lot of contacts. You can go and have a look. Soga, thanks a lot. Ace smiled and put away the newspaper and walked towards the restaurant not far away. I just happened to be a little hungry. On the next street, Smoker casually threw a few pirates on the ground. The inconspicuous little pirates dare to run amok in front of me. Tashigi adjusted his glasses. Colonel Smoker is really amazing. Smoker had a reluctance on his cigar. It's all B*********** D Luffy. It's agreed to come to Alabasta to arrest Ace, who would have thought that it would be all such little bastards. Tashigi smiled from the side. However, the news that Luffy Commodore killed the supernova magician Hawkins has already been published. I heard that he saved a kingdom. This time, the world government is preparing to promote him to Rear Admiral. Smoker snorted coldly, and continued to walk forward.